Aloha, Chivo Ching Johnson here, coming to you from the West Maui Taxpayers Association Primary Candidate Night. Along with me is our production director for Akaku, Dan O'Brien. Thank you for joining me, Dan.
Hey, good to be here, Chivo.
Yeah,
it's an exciting night for us.
It is. And what we're doing here is the West Maui Taxpayers Association always hosts candidate nights where they introduce the candidates tonight from the primary election, and we have a very busy field of candidates in this primary. Have you ever seen this busy of a field for primaries?
Not that I can remember. This is one of the busier times. We have a lot of newcomer candidates, first time running, a lot of Republican candidates for some of these partisan races at the state, House, and Senate level, the U.S. Senate and House level. So a lot of new blood coming in. It's going to be an interesting night to see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that a lot of these positions have opened up unexpectedly. For example, when Takaya announced that he was going to run for governor rather than continue on with his seat in Congress, and Tina Wildberger, who after one night decided, one term, decided to stop doing that.
Move on, yeah. And we were just talking about Tina as an example of a newcomer, a relative newcomer to the local public scene, who kind of fit in really well and got a lot accomplished in a couple years, and who was able to kind of learn the ropes and learn the process and make all kinds of alliances, which is kind of what you have to do with the legislature, don't you?
That's right. That's absolutely true. And what's really interesting about it is that a lot of the candidates that we have seen come through Akaku, firstly to participate in our signature program, which is called Meet the Candidates. And Meet the Candidates is an opportunity for all candidates to spend 3 minutes talking either about themselves or introducing themselves or their platform, their ideas, or whatever. And we met a bunch of them in Meet the Candidates, and a lot of them have never even thought about running for office before.
Absolutely, yeah. And the Meet the Candidates was such a great way for voters and viewers of Akaku to get familiarized with what is a really large slate of people in this election.
Yeah.
And we had lots of responses, and we had a lot of candidates come in the studio. A few did some Zoom interviews, the 3-minute statements. And I think the thing that kind of struck me was it's a great chance for some of the newer candidates to get their name out there, introduce themselves and what their top priorities would be, to get a little recognition out there before the primary election, which is so key, because after that it's like an elimination round. That's it. You don't get a second chance.
Yes.
And then some of the more well-known candidates, it was great for them to remind voters what they've accomplished in the years they've been in office and what they still have left to do, what they still want to accomplish moving forward. So the Meet the Candidates thing with Akaku is just such a great way to get familiarized with the ballot and really get to know these candidates on another level. And we know that 3 minutes these days is quite a lot of time, considering most of them have 1 minute at these forums to answer.
Yeah, it certainly is unusual that with this many candidates in the primary election, a lot of these forums don't provide, they have like an hour and a half to get all of the candidates processed and introducing themselves or asking them questions to their audience. And they have been reduced down to like 1 minute, a minute and a half, which is not a great deal of time to really have a new candidate explain not only who they are, where they're from, what they want to do, and then explain some of their ideas.
Right. Yep. 1 minute of time, it goes by fast.
Yes.
And I understand it. The candidates now really have to adjust their approach to these forums.
Yes.
A lot of them still try to go in depth in a minute and try to squeeze in as much as they can in there.
And they get the horn.
Yeah, next thing you know, they get the horn, they get the hook, they get yanked off the air. But there are some candidates that I've noticed, particularly in some of the forums we covered already here at Akaku, where they've adjusted to that 1 minute timeline really well, and they realize it's more of a sound bite, a broad idea statement instead of getting stuck in the weeds of policy and stuff like that. You can't do that in a minute.
You cannot.
So your approach has to be different to answering these questions.
Yeah, and you can't even do that in too effectively. But one thing that we have seen is that when you have a field so full of candidates, and as you said, we've had, for the first time that I can recall, we've had a bunch of Republicans, a bunch of Green Green Party candidates, and independents, all sorts of people just trying to get into an election.
Yeah, that's one thing that's really stuck out for me this cycle, especially in the primaries, of course, is the number of Republican candidates we're seeing. A lot of them coming with kind of a national agenda outlook on things, where they're adopting the National Republican Party ticket agenda selectively. They're not all doing it, because Hawaii is a very unique place. I think a lot of candidates on that side have to be careful about the things that they back and some things that they leave to the mainland.
True.
But we've seen a lot of Republican candidates adopting things like fair and open election reform. They don't really like mail-in ballot ideas. They don't like kind of the open ballot process that we have here. They want more checks and balances in the election process. So they're bringing a lot of national issues into the local races, which is kind of interesting.
And interesting, and not necessarily appropriate when they're running for a county council position.
Yeah, I think, and that might be part of the learning curve with some of the newer candidates. Is
that's right.
They're very passionate about the national issues, but really what gets your vote are the local issues and where you stand on certain local topics, especially when you're running in such unique districts like a West Maui district versus a South Maui or Central Maui district. The issues are totally different.
Absolutely.
So you really have to beef up and get known on some of these issues that are specific to certain areas of the island.
Right, and as we have seen, a number of the Republicans have almost uniformly talked about personal freedoms being stripped when they were told they had to wear masks during the pandemic. And, you know, quite frankly, the pandemic was brand new to everybody, and I don't know how well that's going to resonate with the community of Maui.
A lot of the one thing that surprised me is I thought that this election cycle in 22 would kind of be a referendum on how the politicians and office holders handled the pandemic, like the mayor's office, like some of the state representatives and council members. I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about looking in the mirror and revisiting how they handled that, which kind of surprised me. But there have been a lot of more conservative candidates who really have embraced the personal freedom aspect of it. They don't like the mask mandates, they don't like the vaccine mandates, and they want to move in a different direction, which is really interesting because Hawaii was one of the strictest states in the entire country when it came to pandemic restrictions. So that's kind of an approach that Hawaii has not practiced in the last couple of years. It's a good example of kind of a new idea that a lot of the politicians, a lot of the candidates now in this cycle want to move towards. So it's an interesting injection into the local political scene, how they're talking about that.
Absolutely. And, you know, another thing, you know, we had mentioned that, you know, a lot of the Republicans seem to be doing this kind of thing, while a number of our Democrats were not necessarily mentioning specifics at all, except maybe affordable housing and some of the things that we have talked about for many, many years. And one thing that I believe we have not had the opportunity to hear, at least up to this point in the primary election, is solutions and details. So far, I guess once again with 1 minute to speak, there's just really been a lack of detail in what people have in the way of plans for if they are elected.
And we see this. We've been running together with elections since 2016. You and me. We've been through the ringer a few times, and I think that's a kind of a common thing. Is a lot of platitudes, a lot of broad stroke statements like, we need more affordable housing. Well, you brought up in a really interesting statement. You were talking with your wife, and she dug up this picture of you from the 90s talking about affordable housing, having a dog house saying this is an affordable house on Maui. We've been talking about these issues for years.
Yes, that makes 20 odd years.
And I think the difference this time is the effects are real. Regular people with full-time jobs are sleeping in their cars now. The county just made parking lots available for homeless people or houseless people who don't have a place to live to park and spend the night. That's like kind of dire straits right there. That means that the problem has continued to get bad without any progress to fix it. And I think that's where the candidates are now, is people are getting a little weary of ideas, and they really want solid direction of where to go and what these candidates are going to do to fix these problems that are really undeniable now.
And that's true. And it comes to a certain point, and I believe that's why we have seen so many first-time candidates crawling out of the undergrowth, basically. Well, not the undergrowth, but
just getting involved.
And if they are not elected, at least they feel that they have been able to speak their mind on certain issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many of them. I mean, there's issues specific to this West Maui community that I'm sure Joe Pluta will go over, like the consent or the condition of need.
The certificate of need. I'm sorry. West Maui Hospital.
Yes, and those are so important to the West Maui community. It blows my mind that this growing community doesn't have a hospital of its own.
I know.
And they have to go all the way to Central Maui, risking roads being closed and delays, life-critical delays. I mean, that's just unacceptable for a community on the west side. So there are some issues like that that are very unique to West Maui, and then there are others like affordable housing, homelessness, sea level rise that are affecting the entire island.
That's right.
So these candidates, they really have to choose the issues that are specific to West Maui in this forum and really be up on those issues. But they also have to have a pretty broad understanding of island-wide issues as well.
And the idea of a good understanding is really key. And you can't say that enough, because a lot of the candidates in the past were kind of like one-trick pony candidates, because they didn't have many big issues that they wanted to tackle. They would have one issue, or housing, or this. But now there are so many issues that are so important, and people need to do their homework if they're a candidate and realize that a lot of this has been dealt with before. A lot of the paths to a solution have been brought up before and didn't work for one reason or another. And people need to do their homework. People really need to study history of Maui County's political scene and figure out why didn't it work, and also something that you mentioned earlier. You can no longer, especially like in the state house or the state senate, you can't just expect to go in there as a single person, as a solitary candidate, and get things done. You have to have a network of people.
Yes.
And you've really got to present your ideas and to be inclusive with other people to try to push these things forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the key is during campaigns, a candidate inherently talks about themselves a lot because that's who they're trying to win, is themselves. They're trying to get themselves the votes. So they talk about what they believe in, what they can do. But specifically with the legislature, I think what gets lost in that conversation is how you really have to work with other people to get anything done.
Yes.
Not one legislative representative or senator on the state level is going to go in and change everything.
Right.
In fact, quite the contrary. If you go in with that attitude, quite often you get iced out
Yes.
and excluded from the conversation. So you really have to know how to build those partnerships and collaborate with different people in different districts and communities to get anything done. And I think that's what some of the voters need to remember is they're even though the candidates talk a lot about what they believe and what they can do, they still need to work with other people. So there's not just one magic candidate that's going to be able to fix everything.
Right.
It's really going to take a lot of people.
It is. And it's also something that a lot of voters aren't aware of is that there are legislative packages that go through on different bills. And once something goes from the state house, then it gets passed over to the Senate. And the Senate will work on that same bill with a different name to it, or a different number. But basically, there's a number of issues in any legislative package, and some of them are kicked out of that bill, and some of them are not. Some of them are, so there's. It's not just like one issue goes forward into a committee and then comes out just that issue.
Yes.
There's a whole bunch to it, and people can find out about that by going to the access room of the state legislature.
That's right. They can see the status of bills and where they are in the process. And man, I'll tell you what, I use that all the time. And I consider myself a political nerd. I mean, I pretty much try to stay updated on all these issues, and it's hard to follow this.
It is.
Because then all of a sudden a bill will disappear because it gets shelved for a while, then it comes back, and there's so many things that happen in the legislative process. It's easy for people to lose track of where these issues go. So you really, it's on the voters, especially in a democracy like this, a representative democracy. It's up to the voters and the community to really stay updated and involved so they're aware of what's going on.
That's right.
They can hold these people accountable.
And see what got, say, omitted from a bill, and they can find out why, who voted against it. And by doing that kind of homework, you're preparing yourself for maybe the next election, when you can say, well, I'm not going to vote for this person because they killed a bunch of legislation that I was in favor of.
Right, exactly.
But you're right, it's a complicated process, and people really need to know what's going on. But first, before they need to know what's going on, they have to vote.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would like to remind you that to register to vote for the primary election, if you have not already, you can still register online or through a paper ballot up until August 3rd. After August 3rd, you would be better served to go to one of the service centers. Maui County has about 4 of them. We have one on Lanai at the Council District Office on Lanai. On Molokai, you have at the Mitchell Paoli Center. And in Wailuku at the Velma Santos Community Center. And the Hana High School and Elementary School. And all of those are service centers where you can go and register to vote in the same day and then turn around and fill out your ballot and vote. And you can do that up until August 13th, which
Election day, huh?
Election day.
So they make it pretty easy for people to get out there and vote.
They do. And sadly enough, every election you and I have just shaken our heads at how many people actually turned out to vote as opposed to how many people registered to vote and how many people just didn't vote.
Well, and it's really interesting as a media outlet, and I think this is even public information, the state elections office puts out all that data on blank votes and, you know, double votes and things where people just didn't even bother to mark down a candidate on their ballot.
Yeah.
It's astounding how, like, those things make the difference in a race.
They do.
They might be a few hundred votes that swing one way or another that could have had a completely different turnout for a candidate, and they lose instead of win because some of those people just didn't bother to vote for anybody.
And every election that we've been involved in, which is quite a few, have had that happen.
Absolutely.
There's always one or two races that are just really close, and you cannot turn around and grumble or be unhappy about an outcome if you didn't get out there and do your best to find out. It's always astounded me how many people have asked us, what do we do? What do we do? Who do we vote for? And I can't tell people who to vote for, and I wouldn't, and you're the same way.
Yeah.
It's like, do your homework. That's what Takaya has dedicated itself to, is putting information out there so that you can find out about any candidate that's running and find out, at least in their Meet the Candidates, and then that refers you to their websites, and from those websites then you can find out what people are really getting at behind, and to a degree.
Right, yeah, you can. And nowadays, I mean, I know a lot of people are disillusioned by the whole process. They're kind of fed up with the whole thing. They're frustrated. A lot of these major issues just are not getting addressed, not getting fixed. But the local level is really where the action is as far as getting things done.
Yes.
You know, if you're going to concentrate on anything, focus on your local races, because you can make a difference in those races. Like Walter Riddy in 2020, he lost by how many votes? Maybe 100 or less?
It was a handful.
It was a handful
less than
of votes.
100, I believe.
And those blank votes made all the difference in the world. If those votes were not blank, he might have won that race and completely changed the legislature in the process.
And that was another example. He was running against Linda Coit, and they're both very good candidates, and they're both. We would be fortunate to have both of those people working on our behalf. But once again, imagine how hair-raising it would be to be in a race like that and realize that it's coming down to literally around 100 votes. That's pretty crazy.
And that's why forums like this are so great, the West Maui Taxpayers Forum, because look at the slate of candidates we have to look forward to tonight. It's really a complete list of all the races that not just people in West Maui need to concentrate on, but you got the mayor's race, you have the council races here.
That's right.
Because anybody can vote in any council race. You don't need to be from a certain district.
And the only council races that won't be here tonight are the ones that have 2 or less candidates running for that seat.
Yeah, because could you explain that? So both of them, if there's 2 people or less in a council race, they both get passed on to the general election.
Exactly. Like, for example, the East Maui Hana seat, Shane Sinensi is the incumbent, and Claire Carroll has put in a bid previously. Now, since those are the only 2 candidates for that race, they will not appear in the primary.
Right.
And a lot of times people have said, well, I didn't see so-and-so in the primary ballot, and you won't, because you have to. The primary is to narrow down the field.
Yeah.
And a lot of these council races, for example, have quite a few people in them.
That's right.
And That's what the primary is all about.
Especially the Kahului seat. That's the big one with,
Yes.
I don't know how many candidates, probably 5 or 6 candidates.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so that's going to be a real, and a lot of great candidates. That's such a great example of first-time candidates entering, and then you got the seasoned politicians trying. You've got some people who've tried running several times that are back again. So you just have a great mix of experienced people, newcomers, new voices, people that have been trying to get involved for a while, and they're all kind of vying for this. When people ask me about what's the deal with the primaries versus the general, I always call the primaries the playoffs.
Yes, right.
And that's where you decide who's going to play in the championship game.
That's right.
For each race, you know, and I liken the primaries to us it's like the Olympics, you know. We have so many different events for 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the culmination of the primary elections on election night.
Yeah.
And that's where Akaku shines. We do our 5-hour live election coverage with real-time results. Yeah. It's like, you know, for people like Chivo and me, it's an exciting night.
It is. And you know, speaking of an exciting night, we have a number of candidates. Joe is calling them up a little early, so I think what we're going to do is get ready to wind down here so that we can be ready for our first group of candidates. But the mayor's race is another group that is really a full field. And the primary is going to really be telling for that. So I think what we're going to do is ask you to check the Akaku website, and you will see what other forums we have coming up.
Yeah.
Real quickly. Yeah.
We have the Realtors Association of Maui Forum live from the McCoy Theater at the MAC next Thursday at 7 o'clock. That's going to be a select mayor's race forum. So there's only going to be 3 people invited to that. It's going to be by polling of the Realtors Association who gets invited. So they still haven't decided who's going to be there, but it's only the mayor's race, and that's next Thursday at 7 o'clock on Akaku Channel 54.
Beautiful. So go to our website, akaku.org, and check out what other forums and other things. Make sure you check out our Meet the Candidates and find out what these candidates stand for and what they're talking about. So we're going to say thank you for joining us right now, and welcome to the West Maui Taxpayers Candidate Night Forum on Akaku Channel 54.
Aloha, Akaku, aloha people on TV, Akaku Television. Thank you for joining us for the West Maui Taxpayers Candidates Night. My name is Joe Pluta. I'm the president currently now of the West Maui Taxpayers. I started the West Maui Taxpayers 43 years ago. My God. And I'm still here. Thank you all. We should all be celebrating the fact that we've got senatorial and congressional candidates here at our candidates night, gubernatorial candidates, mayoral candidates, and county council candidates. The people who are in contested races. We normally don't hold primary candidates night. We're going to have a general election candidates night on October 13th. And that's what we normally do. But this year we decided, with all the issues and gathering together, that we would do a primary candidates night. And we didn't know what kind of response we would get. We got an overwhelming response, which means that more candidates, less time, so we got to squeeze things down to a short amount of time and adhere to much stricter time periods and protocols than we would like to, but it is what it is. We've asked our senator candidates and congressional candidates to answer 2 questions. They were sent to them in advance. The first issue, Hawaii has suffered higher prices related to the Jones Act. What can you do to make necessary changes to the Jones Act, which can lower costs to Hawaii residents? And question number 2, the issue is Hawaii relies heavily upon federal dollars for infrastructure. The federal flood control funds for the completion of the Lahaina Kahoma flood channel has a start point and an ending point, but no federal dollars for the connecting between it. If there's a 100-year flood, which is predicted, it will literally wipe out Lahaina town. Because this vital safety flood channel project lost its sponsor, its main sponsor proponent was Senator Dan Noah, who really got the federal government to step up and do this project. We lost him, and we lost a big supporter there. And I'm irreplaceable, but we're going to try our best to do what we still need to be done. So those are our two biggest issues. I mean, there's many issues, but as far as West Maui is concerned, those are the two biggest ones that we asked our federal candidates. We're going to give them each 1 minute to introduce themselves, to talk a little bit about themselves, 1 minute, and then we're going to start with the first question. So we'll start, if you would, just go right down the road. No other order, just how you're seated.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Bond. I grew up on Oahu, mostly, went to high school there, went back and forth to Maui my whole life, so I know the issues of the island better than a Honolulu person, let's say. I live on Maui. I've been here most recently for 15 years. It's home. I'm going to stay here. I went to Columbia University. I studied economics, so I'm familiar with the cost-benefit analysis approach to everything. However, when you're doing government infrastructure, sometimes you just have to do what it takes. There is no cost-benefit analysis, except for in the case of the flood control, where lives could be lost. I volunteered with a CERT program, Community Emergency Response Team, and I helped in the Lahaina cleanup in 2018, and it was very rewarding. I love that. So let me transition now to the Jones Act. Yeah, I mentioned earlier I'm an economist by background and training, and we've noticed there's been a 40% increase in money creation by the Federal Reserve. Everything is going up. And when everything goes up, plus we're paying on top with the Jones Act, some of these prices for things are just, the average family is having a hard time. And the Jones Act requires that ships be made in, that ships that are delivering goods to Hawaii be manufactured in America and be crewed by American crews. So, you know, things come from China, they have to go to LA and then get transshipped over here. And it increases our costs, and you know, we need to, it's over 100 years old now, and we need to scrap that. Let me transition on to the infrastructure program. We're talking about the floodplain issue, Kahoma, exactly. Yeah, these are critical things, and we need the federal government, and I'm sure all of the people at this table agree that the federal government at times has to step up. With the amount of money creation, we should easily be able to, well, maybe not easily, but we should be able to secure funds for many projects throughout the island and the state. So once again, I'm Steve Bond. I have a table outside. My website's Vote Steve Bond. And thank you, Joe Pluta and West Maui Taxpayers Association, for moving it forward. Appreciate it.
You just want to confirm that's how you want us to do, just roll right into each question?
Roll right. Just
okay.
Keep on going. Keep the flow going.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Tim Dalhouse, and I'm running for the United States Senate alongside Steve Bond, my good friend, and running for the seat that's currently occupied by the incumbent Senator Brian Schultz. So you may wonder what's a haole guy like me with a southern accent, you know, hey, you're not from around here. Of course I'm not. Like so many people, I came in a different canoe. But I love Hawaii. I chose to come here, and I love the culture. And my wife and I have chosen to make this our home. And so we want to serve our country. I'm a retired United States Marine combat veteran. Did 24 years in the Marine Corps, 1985 to 2009. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went into working in the federal government in Washington, D.C. in various capacities. And now I started 4 businesses, and I'm the CEO of a current business. So I understand the needs of business, the needs of national security, and you know, all these things that are related. So I'm getting cued to go on. So the Jones Act. The Jones Act was created, like Steve said, 100 years ago, for very good reason. National security was a basic reason that that was instituted, and of course we're still worried about national security today. But I believe that the Jones Act needs to be modified. National security is eminently important, but so are the hurting families of Hawaii who need a better cost of living, a lower cost of living. The Jones Act has been shown in studies to increase the cost of prices at the consumer level. And a matter of fact, if the Jones Act was repealed, studies have shown that there would be an additional 18 to, I believe it was $64 billion added to the U.S. economy overall. And obviously that would benefit Hawaii greatly by lowering the cost of goods shipped here to Hawaii. So I believe it needs to be modified, but still with the focus on national security. But we have a lot of other assets nowadays. Technology is different. We can secure the shipping, but we need to worry about the cost to the consumer. So the Lahaina Flood Control Project. This is an issue that's been going on for a very long time, and as I mentioned, Senator Inouye was the champion of that. Now, when we lost the senator, we lost the champion for that funding. That shouldn't have been the case. I want to go to Washington, D.C. and fight for what Hawaii needs, and funding for projects like that is definitely needed. It was already approved. It was already started. We just need to finish it because it's very, very important. So I want to focus in the Senate on the local communities. I'm loving going all over Hawaii, learning in this Senate race about the needs of the different communities, and I want to fight for that in Washington, D.C., and I want to pick up and be that champion that Hawaii needs for those issues, just like the flood control project here. I'm Tim Dalhouse, running for United States Senate, and you can connect with me on my website at timdalhouse.com. Funny last name, D-A-L, House. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you, Joe, the West Maui Taxpayers Association, for bringing us all together. I'm going to try to do this in 3 minutes. That's a really tough gig for a bunch of elected officials and politicians up here. But first of all, thank you so much again for having us. You know, I spent 12 years in the Hawaii State Senate representing Kaneohe and Kailua on Oahu, but my roots really are also from Maui. My grandfather grew up, spent his childhood in Pu'unene, learned to swim in the ditches here. And for the last few years, I've been working with the Nisei Veterans Memorial Center as their external director, helping to expand the facility. A lot of that was about giving back to the generations that have come before us. That really made it possible and opened those doors for many of us here. And it's been a very humbling experience to work side by side so many Maui residents here to really be able to help and plan for the future. My why for running, though, really comes down to my 2 boys. You know, when I sit at that kitchen table at night and I really look out the window, I wonder, will they be able to have a family here of their own? Can they see a future for themselves here? And running is about making sure all of our communities, especially our rural communities, have access to the most basic things that they need, from healthcare and mental health services, to housing that we can afford, to really looking at education and job opportunities as well. That's why I'm running, because I think all of our families and our kids deserve to see a future for themselves here. How many people here have actually had a family member or know somebody who's had to move out of this state in the last 12 months? That's too many hands as far as I'm concerned. That's the urgency. That's why I'm running. Now I think I have to answer the 2 questions really quickly with the remaining amount of time. Jones Act, 91 other nations have it because it's fundamental for local and national security. It's stability of those goods that we need to come to our shores to provide for our families to fill those shelves. So I do not believe in exemptions, repeals, or any changes to the Jones Act. What I do believe in, though, is we have to put more money in the pockets of our families. We need to fight at the federal level to make sure that we continue the child care tax credit that helps so many families struggling, the emergency utility and rent relief program that kept people from being evicted, kept lights and water running for so many families. We need to work on food subsidy programs that feed our youngest of keiki to our kupuna and increase that and make sure we're getting our fair share. To me, that's how we really address the affordability issue in Hawaii and help our struggling families. Now, when it comes to federal dollars and infrastructure and flood control, we've got to do better. I would actually advocate that we have an Office of Federal Funds, and at the very least, I would immediately make sure that a staff person is dedicated to that. We are missing out on hundreds of millions of dollars every year. And the reality is, whether it's flood control or other climate change mitigation, I want the money to come here to create local jobs for our kids and to help Hawaii be the tip of the spear in battling the climate issues that we're facing every single day. Maui sees it, whether it's flooding and torrential rains, whether it's drought, whether it's invasive species like deer. We've got to be better, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to fight for every darn dollar we can get at the federal level to make sure that it means a better life for Hawaii people and jobs for our keiki. So thank you again. I will be outside to answer any more questions. Visit us at tokudaforhawaii.com. I am running for Congressional District 2 that represents the wonderful county of Maui, and I humbly ask for your consideration of support. Thank you.
All good to go? Aloha, everyone. I hope you're doing well. My name is Brendan Schultz. I'm a humanitarian aid worker, and I'm running for Congress in Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District on a platform of people, planet, and peace. I was proudly born to a military family on Oahu 25 years ago in Tripler Hospital. Grew up as a military kid throughout the United States, attended public schools, and then college on the GI Bill. The reason why I'm running, as many of you know, this seat opened up less than 100 days before the primary when the incumbent decided that he would run for governor. And I didn't see an option on the ballot who was going to reject corporate money and special interest money. Our campaign is unique is that we're not accepting any special interest donations, only donations from individuals, because we see those donations as legal political bribes. That is the root of the problem of many of the issues that we see on the local, state, and federal level here in Hawaii. I'm running on policies like Medicare for All, a Green New Deal, ending foreign wars, sustaining Social Security, and protecting and expanding unions by passing the PRO Act. As far as the Jones Act is concerned, one of the major arguments in support of the Jones Act is that it helps protect U.S. national security. Now, I'm not going to get into the merits of that argument right now since it's quite complex, but where I stand as a person who would be representing the 2nd Congressional District in Congress is that if it protects national security, then it's not up to families in Hawaii to pay an extra $1,800 each year in shipping costs to protect national security. That's a cost that should be spread throughout the United States and funded and subsidized by the federal government. Also, I think we need to look at getting rid of the U.S. built ship requirement for the Jones Act. For example, if you wanted to fly a plane between Los Angeles and Honolulu to deliver cargo, it doesn't need to be a plane that's built in the United States of America. Just because your transportation vehicle is going through water, I don't necessarily agree that it needs to be a ship that's built in the United States of America. Regarding infrastructure, I support allocating $5 trillion over the next 10 years nationwide in renewable energy, climate mitigation, and public transportation infrastructure through a Green New Deal. How we would fund that is through a tax on carbon, because carbon, of course, when you drive, it pollutes CO2 into the atmosphere. That's an externality that needs to be taken into account for. Climate change, as a young person myself, is something that is already affecting us now. It's a present tense issue. The flood mitigation issue is one example that affects your local community, but I think we can get Congress members from throughout the United States, whether they're on the blue team or the red team or whatever team have you, on board for a national infrastructure revitalization effort in order to ensure that communities are protected from climate change. If you like what I've spoken about this evening, I will be outside to address any further questions that you have. You're welcome to look at our website, brendanschultz.com. We have over 50 policies listed on the website to address the issues facing people here in Hawaii and throughout the United States of America. Thank you very much, and I thank you for your consideration. Mahalo.
Aloha mai kako. I'm Patrick Pihana Branco, and I'm running for Congress. As a Kanaka, it's really important to connect ourselves to place, to Wahipana. My grandfather, a pure Hawaiian man from Ulupalakua, was born and raised there and then stowed away on a ship and brought my ohana to Kailua. And I'm very proud to be the state representative for Kailua and Kaneohe Bay. My whole career hasn't been as a politician. My career is all about being a public servant. Before I was in the Hawaii State House, I was a U.S. diplomat serving our country in Colombia, Pakistan, Venezuela, and with the Secretary of State. What we need right now in Congress is someone who's dedicated to staying there and someone who can build and work with differences and build the divide and be able to deliver on for Hawaii on day one. When it comes to the Jones Act is a big economic driver in our state. It provides about $787 million in workforce income every year. It also provides about $3.3 billion in our local economy, and it also provides 13,000 jobs. It does provide a lot for our economic community. Also, as a former diplomat, when I look at the Jones Act, we look at through the lens of national security, right? When it was during COVID, Jones flagged ships did not miss their deliveries and were the ones that kept Hawaii getting products in. Also, when you look at the Asia Pacific region, when it looked at ships going to other ports during the pandemic, the ports that were paying the most money is where the ships that didn't have the Jones Act were going to. So the Jones Act actually made sure that there was supplies regularly and goods coming into Hawaii. When it comes to infrastructure is so important, especially for the Lahaina flood project. The number one way to get this is building seniority. We need every candidate here to commit that they are not going to run for another seat. They're not going to run for governor. They're not going to run for senator. They're going to stay in this seat to build the seniority to make sure that Hawaii is a priority in the halls of Congress. And so I ask all of the candidates up here to make that commitment as well. That should be the number one thing. And that's we saw with the work of Senator Danny Noy. And when on the short term, when it comes to getting the funds for this project, it's really easy when you have that seniority to work with the Department of Transportation, work and get those monies delivered through the Flood Mitigation Grants Assistance Program. And I commit to doing that on day one. Mahalo.
Aloha everyone, my name is Joe Akana, and I am your congressman for Congressional District 2. In 2020, I ran on a platform of faith, family, and freedom. Those haven't changed. I'm still running on that. We need to have that. My background is I'm a military intelligence officer, retired 2019 from the U.S. military. I worked serving up at U.S. Pacific Command. Had an opportunity to see many, many parts of the world. Some of them, as I've referred to, can be really interesting places. I'll just put it that way, right? However, what we need to be looking at is where we're going in the future and what can we do. If you're excited about where we're at right now, having inflation going through the roof, gas prices going through the roof, doing all of those things that we need to be doing, that's what's been happening over the course of the last several decades, then let's keep voting for the same ones. If you want to see a change, let's make that change. I have a master's degree in business. I have a second master's degree in strategic intelligence, just to give you an idea. Real quick, talking about the Jones Act. Let's look at that Jones Act. It's a 1920s act that was designed to do four things. You had to be made in America, had to be shipped on an American ship, had to be crewed by American crews, and had to be flagged by an American owner. Those are the four tenements. One of those tenements, the Made in America issue, is an issue. We have 93 ships that are Jones Act ships currently in play. The U.S. ports only make 2 to 3 ships a year. Our laws of supply and demand are far outweighed by the number of ships we have available. I would ask that we recommend that we take away the Made in America issue and turn it into where can we actually get those ships to improve our supply and demand. What else can we do about the Jones Act? We need to push to have Hawaii become a federal port of entry. Now, why would I say a federal port of entry? Think about it. It creates jobs, because if you're building infrastructure and you're building jobs throughout the islands and all of the ports, now you create something where we're all benefiting from it. Last one was with regards to the infrastructure. The 2021 House, Senate, up in Washington, D.C., got about $2.8 billion out of a $1.9 trillion infrastructure plan. Honestly, that sucked for us. That's 0.002% of the entire budget of $1.9 trillion. We need to make sure that our federal dollars are coming back here in greater amounts than what our current legislative parties are doing. 0.002%. That's what they've done. As far as for the short term and what can we do about the flood control issue, I would suggest one thing: we start planting trees. There's a story in Hawaiian mo'olelo, right? The rain will follow the trees. There's a story there. If we build and plant forests, the rain comes back. When the rain comes back, so do the trees, so do the forests. We preserve the land. We take care of that. My name is Joe Akana. I'm running for U.S. Congress, joeakana.com. You can always check it out there. Love you guys. Stay safe.
Hi, I'm Nicole G. And I've heard I'm supposed to smile to get votes, but I'm actually running because I'm really pissed off. I'm pissed off because every politician just about that I have volunteered for, that I have believed in, has let me down over the past few years. I have been told that it is pro-worker to support shutting down local businesses and letting people's personal livelihoods get destroyed. I have been told that it is pro-worker to fire our nurses, to fire our firefighters for not taking a shot. I have been told that we have no choice but to give billions of dollars in weapons to Ukraine, to bail out Wall Street during the beginning of the pandemic, instead of take care of our own with that tax money. I'm pissed off because I have had to resort to running for Congress because it seems like there's nobody left on Team Reality. I am pissed off. Thank you. I am pissed off because we live in a situation with a two-party system where the national leadership of both parties is corrupt. And I am running as a Democrat, but I am not running to reform the Democratic Party. I am running to burn this two-party system to the ground. And I hope you will give me the chance to try, because I am not putting up with this BS without a fight. Thank you. And now I have to answer the other two questions. Thank you. For the Jones Act, I agree with a lot of what Brendan and Joe have had to say. And I actually heard about the concept of the shipbuilder requirement on the radio a month ago on HPR. And they talked about how, you can buy a ship in South Korea or Japan for about 1/5 of the price. And it's $1 billion, by the way, to build a ship here. So that can bring the cost down a lot. And I wondered, this seems like a win-win. The Hawaii Shippers Council proposed this over 10 years ago. Why hasn't it happened? And so I talked to some people about it, and it turns out that the other thing that removing the shipbuilder requirement does is it allows other shipping companies to enter the market, further lowering costs. And I wonder who that doesn't help. Matson, maybe? And I just want to point out that the two people on this stage who do not agree with changing the Jones Act are both people who've gotten a lot of money from Matson. So that's the thing with this. It's not about national security. It is about doing what's right for the people, no matter what special interests are funding you. And so about telling it like it is, which we don't seem to have enough in politics anymore. On the flood control, that's my last point. There's a lot of complications we've seen with the rail, with any project, even when it has funding, right? Part of it is just, you have to make it a priority, right? There's a million things that we could be doing in Congress. And for me, as a neighbor island girl, Kauai made and unafraid, I will make it a priority to make sure that the neighbor islands get their fair share. I also have the advantage of having a BS in environmental engineering from Stanford University, and an MBA and an MS as well. And so I love to talk infrastructure. This is something where I can get into the weeds to argue with these people who are telling me you can't get funding for this, you have to change your whole plan 2 more times before you get funding again. That's where my technical expertise really comes in handy for a lot of these infrastructure projects that all of the neighbor islands need. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello, I'm Stephen Sparks, and I am a businessman. I'm not a politician, but I'm also a community organizer. I'm the president of the Puna Community Medical Center Foundation, and we are actually dealing with building a hospital in Puna. And I know exactly what we're talking about when we look at your floodplain, and it is taking a long time because of the funding problems. We're having the same funding problems in our hospital project. There's a interesting thought process because I've been in business for 38 years. I've been president of a corporation. We built houses. We built large complexes. Housing is a major problem in Hawaii. And I want to do things. I want to do things for all of us. Mostly low-income housing. But as far as the Jones Act goes, I feel that it should be repealed. I've looked at it, and I've looked at it 10 years ago, and it should have been repealed. Because it was built and supported by the American Maritime Brotherhood. It is built for them to make money. They're making money by charging us more. They're making money by the ship. They talk about shipbuilders. There are 3 shipbuilders, maybe 4, that can build an actual cargo ship. And General Dynamics only builds ships for the military. So there's actually only 3, possibly 2, that will build an American ship. And so the people from all the shipbuilding industry areas are the ones who are supporting the Jones Act, because it means jobs in their situation. It doesn't mean that we get lower prices, we get better service, or we get any kind of relief. That's it? Okay. Okay, number 3rd one. Okay, the flood channel. The flood channel, like I was saying, I know that it's hectic and hard to try to build anything in Hawaii. And I've been working since 2008 to build this hospital. And it's really interesting to find out that this building block goes in front of this building block and goes in front of this stop sign and goes in front of, everybody wants you not to do it. And I'm not sure why. I was looking up at the channel, and the Army Corps of Engineers said in 1990 that it was finished. They put out a whole report saying it was finished, it was completed, and it's craziness. Yeah, they spent $18.5 million on it. And we need to actually look at what needs to be done, get figures, facts, how much money do we need, and find the money. It's there. But we need people in Washington that will go get it, right? Thank you.
Question. What will you do to ensure that the state DOT makes necessary revisions to its West Maui Highway Improvement Program, extending the bypass north and away from the ocean? So we asked the state candidates to answer just pick 2 of those 4 issues to respond to. But since we have now a reduction in the number, we can go, if you want to, you can talk about more than just 2. We'll leave it up to you. So it's your option. You can talk about all 4. You got 1 minute to talk about yourself, and then you have an additional minute for each of the 4 questions, or you can just pick 2 or 3, whatever you want. But now with just 3 up here, we've got more additional time, so we can do that. It's up to you.
Aloha.
Please start.
Mic check. Aloha. Aloha. We've all talked about change. It's going to take that energy to make that change. So it starts with aloha. Thank you. I would like to answer all the questions, but I feel kind of like Abbott and Costello about who's on first right now as we go through trying to remember all of them. But I'll just look at the notes that I had. So this one is talking about the certificate of needs. My name is Paul Morgan. I'm coming to you from the Big Island. Blessings from the Big Island. I'm running for the office of Governor of Hawaii in 2022. I was born and raised in Mississippi. I've been in Hawaii since 2013. I graduated from Vanderbilt University with a degree in human and organization development. My professional background is in government contracting. I've also worked child protective services, juvenile probation, adult probation. I've even worked in a prison. I'm a business development consultant, and what I do, I help small minority veteran and woman-owned businesses to sell to the state, local, and federal government. And that's initially what my platform is about. It's about Hawaii first. And I think we all would agree that Hawaii should be first. Do we agree? There's no way around it, Hawaii first. And from Hawaii first, there's 3 areas that we're going to focus on. That's economic recovery, sustainable solutions, and ending corruption. Economic recovery is simply putting the technical assistance behind our businesses so that they can grow and eventually be exported across the world. So we can recover economically from other states, counties, and cities to Hawaii. because there have been a lot of people who had to leave because of the cost of living, as the gentleman mentioned before. Sustainable solutions is simply creating industry around the issues that we have in Hawaii. Would we all agree that we have an affordable housing crisis in the state of Hawaii? Yes. So that's pretty much a scientific poll that we all agree that we have a housing crisis. So with that being said, and utilizing the powers that are in place, we will have a state of emergency so we can utilize and exhaust all of the federal resources from a civilian and a military perspective. We have the Air National Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers that are in position to help us with these scenarios. As a part of our plan, we want to empower nonprofits, for-profits, to get into the nonprofit business so that they can acquire land. SB 2583, I believe is the bill, opens up more land for public development. We want to partner with you as 501c3s, including the unions, including the teachers' unions, so that when you have that land, it becomes tax exempt. That's going to lower your overhead for building the homes for our own. Met with Peter Savio earlier in the campaign, and he mentioned about bifurcating the market, which is simply having two parts of the market, the housing market. An international market, which they should be on leasehold land, the prices should be sky high, so it can subsidize the local market. With the local market, in that scenario I just presented, those nonprofits will have control of those units. And as people move in, they move out, they die, the families grow, then they graduate to the next level of the program. Working with the community is very important with our platform and with our administration. Ending corruption simply starts with exit interviews of current administration and people who are currently working for government. What we're hearing is that government needs change. And from that perspective, it's just finding from a perspective of exit interviews of what hasn't been done according to policy and procedure. We want to get rid of the corrupt practices. We want to know who they are, but we also want to build on the best practices. We all want to build on the best practices. Not everybody who works for government is a crook. Not every politician is a 100% liar, right? We just want to do our best in our own communities. I'm actually here to serve. My name is Paul Morgan. I'm running for governor of Hawaii. And as far as answering the question about the certificate of need laws, that's actually was a part of our platform as far as what do we do to help the overall health care of the state of Hawaii. And one, it's repealing and reversing the certificate of need laws, the CON laws. And what we want to do with that is allow infrastructure to come into the state of Hawaii to be better prepared for the scenarios. I live on the Big Island. I'm also a member of the West Hawaii Community Health Care Center, where I'm on the IT committee and also the recruiting committee. By graduating from Vanderbilt, what we want to do is be able to take on a town like that that has maybe 3 or 4 medical schools, dental schools, nursing schools, to have those second and third year medical students to actually come to Hawaii to do a study abroad program, so that with all of our aloha, we can eventually recruit those people here, while they perform community service in our communities to help inspire our kids to be the next doctors from the island, sustainable program. And also exempt up to $2 million of those physicians' income to help them be competitive with other places across the country. Let's go to the next question. How much time do I have, please?
You got a total of 5 minutes.
Okay, 2 more minutes. Let's go to the next one. This one is, do I support legislation to invest in physician recruitment? Absolutely. Absolutely. Being from the outer islands and knowing that we have a shortage in specialists, we have a shortage in physicians. We were fortunate yesterday to go see Dr. Lawler's medical facility on Oahu. And what she's built on her own without any type of corporate support, she's built her own system of family care practitioners to dentists to pediatricians to adult daycare to an eye surgeon in one location where people can come and get the services that they need. She also has a clinic where within 20 minutes, if there's a diagnosis that's needed, she'll have the results there with a kiosk for a drug company, loans facility inside of it. So helping businesses like that are actually Hawaii-made, Hawaii-grown to thrive and eventually combine with those 501c3s, a couple floors where we have access to medical care. These are really simple, measurable, realistic, doable things that we can do. And along that lines of just having a consistent permitting process across the state where we can all benefit. HRS 4615, if you'll look that up and get familiar with that. HRS 4615, it allows for demonstration and experimental housing. So if it currently exceeds the building code, then this should cut a lot of red tape to build the housing that we actually need. My name is Paul Morgan. I'm running for governor for Hawaii. You can find us at paulmorganforgovernor.com. I'll be here for questions throughout the night. I'll leave first thing in the morning around 9 o'clock. I'll give you my contact information, and let's win 2022 with Paul Morgan as governor. Mahalo.
Hello. All right. Aloha, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Kele Onalani Taylor. I am a daughter of Hawaii, a graduate of Kamehameha School's 1998 alumni. I'm a little bit different than everybody. I went away to the States to get a college education like we were taught. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree. But who knew Joe Biden was going to win a rigged election in 2020? And how is that working out for you today? Okay? We all know Donald Trump won the election. We know it. We know it. So not only do I have the data on my phone, which some people don't want to review, it's just the truth. So as the election gets overturned coming up, look at everybody. See? Why? Why you guys like that for? Huh? Because I'm another Donald Trump. I'm running nonpartisan as governor to take myself out of the political fog that everybody's in. The science of Hawaii, the occupation of Hawaii is where we're at. So let's start there. How can somebody proclaim that they are a government over another government? Is that lawful? Is that adequate? Well, guess what? Everybody who thought January 6th was an insurrection should look back who thinks, right? Should look back to 1893 and 1894 right here. Okay? Let's not play anymore. I'm the only billionaire in the room who's self-made, who was born poor. So now I look at myself as a privateer. Can I help you with these problems? Absolutely, because I'm more like Shark Tank than beg for money and wait for the federal government and the state government. How many of you have known anybody to help to create 25,000 millionaires here in Hawaii? What governor is teaching people the education to stop going to school, to stop getting good grades, to be in debt? How many of you are in debt? Nobody wants to raise their hands. We had one honest person in the front, right? But the reality is the numbers don't make sense. My area of expertise is attracting wealth. I have relationships globally. I already have actually $4 billion set aside before I get into office to disperse into the communities. That is a big difference. Why? Because I did something different. I went to network marketing, I went to affiliate marketing, I grew teams into the 100,000s to the millions. I got rich, I got wealthy. I came home. But guess what I found? Geopolitics at my door. Dealing with the legal system, dealing with politicians. Why? Because that is what's happening right now. We are dealing with geopolitics and science. And the laws of war prove the science that technically Hawaii is not a state. It was never a republic. So when we come into the room now, just know there is a declaration state of war that actually was signed by Donald Trump's Navy SEALs Special War Crimes Division and Colonel Sam Lilikoi from Occupied Forces Hawaii, who is the lawful military government now. For me, I do not have to wait. For me, I can move forward. For me, leadership, the law of the lid. If you're broke and you have nothing to give and you have advice, I suggest you look for a new teacher. If you're asking for funding from somebody else and you're not willing to actually do the work to make that equivalency of it, then you're just borrowing money just like Joe Biden and the Federal Reserve. Number two, I was there in person last year when Blanjardi announced that the state of Hawaii was now a part of the New World Order. He did it on Kamehameha Day. For anybody who has been following the human trafficking, all of you with a US birth certificate, like Brada said earlier, your US birth certificate is a citizenship to a slave ship on maritime law. I know a lot of you don't know that because you've been conditioned, just like I was, in indoctrination camp, to believe that Hawaii is a state, to believe that Hawaii was a republic. You cannot annex a republic without territory next to you, but there's water everywhere around us. You cannot declare a state. Where is the peace treaty? You cannot create a peace treaty between a corporation and a country or a nation if you look under international laws of war. And I would highly recommend everyone start getting to FM 27-10, which is the field manual that we're all supposed to be following under the conditions of occupation. As US citizens, we should all get together and study. But yeah, you can call on me directly. I don't have to wait for federal funding to fix problems. And when I release my social network, I'll be putting $1 billion in prizes for those of you who get on and pay attention and get incentivized to win in Hawaii. Mahalo.
Gee. That's big. I'm big, but that's big. Aloha kaua, wau no Charles Kyoho keia. Hajimemashite, watashi wa Charles Kyoho desu. Dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu. In case my wife is listening. My name is Charles Kyoho. I'm a born-again Christian. I am pro-life. I make no apologies about that. I don't care what anybody says about it. I'm not politically correct. Never have been, never will be. Right, Peggy? You know me. I've never been politically correct. But West Maui is my jam. This is my place. I had businesses here from Kyohos of Hawaii. We had in the Royal Lahaina Resort, at the old Foodland where the shopping center was, right where McDonald's was, right over there, tourist shop. Lahaina Sporting Goods, Lahaina Travel, Maui Discount Travel. I forget how many different businesses we had. Fujiyama Japanese Restaurant. Ooh, sushi for the first time. Second time, actually. Anyway, I know West Maui. I've been here. Many of you know me. Bobby, how's it, bro? Certificate of Need. First of all, for Certificate of Need, I want to thank West Maui Taxpayers Association, and also in response to that too, because again, this is Lahaina. This is not Kahului, this is not Kauai. This is Lahaina. I want to thank West Maui Taxpayers Association and Lahaina Luna Foundation for doing something that people don't do. We have all kinds of politicians, and I'm a politician. Damn. Anyway, won't you help me? Won't you help me? Won't you help me? Give me money. How about this? West Maui Taxpayers Association took a challenge. Was it from Lingo? Sorry? For the fire station? For the Pili? Yeah. Fire station, yeah, Lingo. So he took a challenge from, I don't know if it was Mayor or Governor Lingo at the time. He took a challenge from Lingo because they wanted a fire station out in the Pili. Lingo said, we can't afford it. You get the money, you build it, we'll fund it. Challenge done, challenge taken, challenge accepted. West Maui Taxpayers Association. As a small business owner in Lahaina, because I wasn't on Front Street, and I used to tease West Maui Taxpayers saying, yeah, it's Front Street Merchants Association, please. But I didn't have the short-sightedness at the time to see what they were doing. Lahaina Luna. Everybody loves Lahaina Luna High School in here. If you don't say that, you'll never get voted in. But Lahaina Luna Foundation built a beautiful stadium out there. Beautiful stadium. Private and public partnership. Not just, won't you help me, won't you help me, won't you give me money? I give you $15 billion. Stop it. Anyway, Certificate of Need. It's real simple. It's silly. Now, I come from a slightly different perspective. I'm on the board with the Community Clinic of Maui. We've got a clinic in Lahaina and one in the old O'oka in Wailuku. And I asked other people, tell me about Certificate of Need and what you think the problem is. The problem was it's going to cause More competition for the same employees. Well, you know what? I'm on the board with a community clinic, and we always have a problem getting employees. Why? Because it's expensive here. If a doctor's going to earn $150,000 to $250,000 a year, or whatever they're going to earn, let's see, they can earn it in Wailuku, where they got to pay $1.7 million for a house, or they can be in Kansas and get a mansion for $300,000. Please. There's a very difficult thing. So certificate of need is a silly thing. And if Brandon, I don't know which camera's on, this one here. Hey, Brandon, if you're listening to me from up country with your family, I'm sorry you got COVID, bro. But I was sitting next to Brandon from Honolulu to Maui yesterday, and we're having a conversation. He had to go to Honolulu to go for an MRI because he needed the MRI for his health, and he had to wait a week to get a phone call from the MRI guys to see when he could schedule an appointment. The appointment's gonna be another 2 weeks later. C-O-N, does not allow competition. You have competition, you have better quality service. You're not gonna wait a week to get a phone call to get an MRI. He paid his own plane ticket to go get his MRI done and his timing, not waiting for it to be done. Con should be just done. If it needs to be taken down slowly, that's fine. But that's ridiculous. You need more competition for better quality service. Let's see, number 2, where is it? In physician recruitment, you need to help eliminate some of the taxes on physicians, because again, they have a choice. They have a choice of where they're going to be. Again, if they're going to earn $150,000 to $250,000 to $350,000, whatever they earn, on Maui, where it costs them so much to live a house, now they have a unique advantage of a lifestyle here that they don't have anywhere else. They don't have this lifestyle in Kansas, that's for sure. You know, but eliminate some of the taxes that's on their lives so that it makes it much easier. There can be bonuses and all kinds of things. Reduce the taxes on some of these high needs that we have. Because again, we need doctors, we need qualified nurses. And that's very difficult in all those areas. Support, suspension, sorry. 5 minutes, opao, I talk too much. Permitting process, regulation process in Hawaii needs to go down dramatically. It's the most unfriendly place for business and the most expensive place to start up a business. That needs to stop.
Okay, now we've got the state offices of state senator and state representatives. Would you please come up here to the podium? And those of you who are going to take some more food, please go outside and get some more food. Make a plate. Get some more food. You got so much food. There's lots of food. And there's water and coffee back there, and cookies. Those of you who don't know, please help yourself. Water, coffee, and cookies. Take advantage of this transmission, and while these state officers are coming up here, we're asking the mayoral candidates to take a seat. We're right over there. Here's next. So we've got the state senator and state representatives coming up here. So this is state. Oh yeah, good. How are you? Which one are you running for? House. Yes, you're up here.
I'm just checking. Oh, I forgot my notebook. What did you invite it? Do you need this? I'll be right back.
State Senator, District 6, and State Representative, District 14. We'll start off with the Senate on the far right, and the representatives will be over here. We have enough seats for everybody?
Oh, yeah. I'm on the wrong side. Sorry.
Senate will be up first, and then the House after the Senate.
We're going to move down. Yeah, let's go down. Sorry. Senator's on this side. Gotcha.
Right-hand side.
Is it okay? Yeah, you want to go first? You want me to go first? Oh, you. By all means.
Then let's squeeze you in.
All right, I can sit next to him. Hello. 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 Good job.
Against the wall to come next. So, the Senate, the state, Senate, and state representative questions. And we have, looks like they all showed up. We're going to have, not to give the extra time.
All right. What a pro you are, you don't have any
as you want.
I know.
I'm just
from the heart, and that's kind
I'm just. Everybody got it?
All right. I want a timer there, in case, unless you can see a timer.
No. Yeah. It's better. Timer goes on
Thank
so
you for bringing extra food too. My goodness, we got food coming from all over the place. If you love some extra food.
Me too. It's like the.
They said you feed them, they will come. So thank you. Okay, is everybody ready? Okay, we can keep the Aloha spirit going and start officially. The first will start. Please just stand up, give your introduction to yourself, 1 minute introduction, and then 1 minute for each of the 2 questions you pick, which do you want to talk about. Thank
Wonderful. Aloha. Aloha.
Hey.
Aloha. Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for coming this evening. I'm Sheila Walker, running for State Senate District 6. I'm originally from Missouri, the Show Me State, and I've lived here since 2016. I may not be Native Hawaiian, but I love this place and I deeply care about the people who live here. I'm conservative and I have common sense, and I'm running on that as my platform. I'm bold and I know how to stand up and do the right thing. I also have faith. I have faith in God, and I trust that God will lead us in the proper way going forward in this election. One of the things that I'm concerned about is the hospital on the west side. If you or a loved one has a stroke or a heart attack, seconds count. In a matter of moments, you could be dead, or you could be alive. How many of you know someone who did not make it to the hospital in time? It's absolutely necessary that we cut through this certificate of need and create a hospital on the west side. We need to protect our people there, and we need to give them the proper medical care they deserve. The other thing that I'm concerned about, and that's a big part of my platform, is our transportation and the bypass. Not only is this bypass necessary also for our safety in case we need to leave quickly to get out of Lahaina, but it's necessary if we are going to have more housing and more employees coming to work in Lahaina. And the thing that is important in this area is that we continue to build relationships with the Department of Transportation. And that's one thing that I will cultivate and will nurture, is our relationships so that we can work together in a partnership and get this highway bypass extension finished and the upgrades done so that we'll have safe passage along the ocean front. So I'm Sheila Walker, again. I'm bold, I know how to do the right thing, and I have faith. And if you'd like to talk to me after, I will be outside. And even though you may not think you want to talk to me, I would love to talk to you. So please come by my table, and you can visit me on my website, Vote Sheila Walker, if you feel like we could use some new faces and fresh perspectives here on Maui, because I believe in Maui first and Hawaii first. Thank you.
Got my own timer tonight, just to make sure I don't run over, because you all know me, I like to volunteer out a little bit. Aloha, everybody. I'm Angus Mckelvey, and so thank you so much for being here tonight. This debate's important. Joe, thank you for having it, because there's a lot of choices on the primary ballot. I've been very blessed and humbled to serve as your state representative for a number of years. During that time, working as a team, and there is no I in team, we were able to widen the existing Honopi'ilani Highway through community building, fund and build the first 2 phases of the Lahaina bypass, and also go ahead and build that beautiful football field that Charles talked about with the public-private partnership. Went ahead and got funding for Lahaina Intermediate and Nahiana School, as well as to save Front Street Apartments and do other things to protect and preserve this community. It's an open seat, and I'm running with these other great candidates because I want to offer my voice and my ideas and my strategic plans to address the situation at hand. For the bypass, we got hosed by the DOT. I'm sorry, but they let us know at the 11th hour during the legislative session that the funding mechanism we created, taxing the tourist rental cars to create this thing called revenue bonds to fund it, was going to fall through because of COVID and the shutdown. It was too late for us to act. But immediately I started reaching out to others in the House and the Senate. What's our battle plan to turn lemons into lemonade? And the idea is to use what they call geo-reimbursable bonds. We can take these bonds to market immediately, turn it into cash, and get the procurement notice put out right away to build the bypass north. Hopefully using design build, we can speed it up. And like moving the highway inland with the federal funds that were secured for us by the administration in Washington, D.C. and our congressional delegation, we can declare a traffic emergency zone, which would allow for the permitting to be streamlined. Luckily for us, all is not lost because of the fact that we can go ahead. They're doing the EIS update, which is required because it's over 10 years old. They're going to be done in late December. Perfect time for us to come back and be able to put this plan into action. Also, as a state senator, I will have the opportunity to serve on the Metropolitan Planning Organization. That's the group that directs federal and state funds to highway projects here in Maui. South Kihei, South Maui, West Maui, moving the highway inland, getting the bypass north, planning for it to go south, and creating a design to get over the poly are in the hands of the MPO, and I will work hard to get on that MPO and fight for everybody to make sure that the priorities we need all over Maui are met. And so also as a state senator, you have the power of confirmation. And the new governor with the new director of DOT and hopefully the new highways person will have to come before us and make their case. And as your state senator, I will hold their feet to the fire on where they stand so that we know we have the support of those agencies when state and federal funds are going to be deployed for these projects immediately. We need more mental health. We need more physicians. We have an ability to be able to do this. My timer says I've run short. If you want to know more, please go ahead and visit me outside. Aloha, and thank you for being here. And no matter how you're going to go, get out and vote, because blank ballots really ruin us all. Mahalo.
How about now? All right. Hi, I'm Shana Forsyth. I'm one of the candidates for the Hawaii State Senate District 6 seat, along with Sheila, Angus, and Tamara here. I was actually born and raised right here in Lahaina, so local girl from Lahaina. I love this place, and that's part of the reason that I'm running is as I've gotten older over the years, I see how important government is. I want to get in and help be the change and fight for West and South Maui, which includes District 6. So a couple of the questions we had, one focused on the Certificate of Need. The Certificate of Need was implemented in the late 1970s as a way for us to get federal funding for healthcare here in Hawaii. That was successful, but the funding expired in the 1980s. Why we still have the Certificate of Need, I'm not sure. So it's important that whoever gets into the state Senate looks at that and helps reduce or get rid of that Certificate of Need so that there are fewer barriers to the healthcare that we need. We really do need a hospital here on the west side. If there's an emergency, it's too far to go to central Maui. So that would definitely be a priority. Another priority is certainly the bypass. I live right next to Keawe Street. I have to make that left every day to come to work in Kapalua, and it's scary. There are too many cars coming down, and we need to get that bypass extended north. So if you elect me as your state senator, that will certainly be a priority for me. I'm Shana Forsyth, running for Hawaii State Senate, District 6, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Hi. Talofa, Yaungoa o Tamara Gobert. Hello, aloha everybody. My name is Tamara Gobert. I am the descendant of Samoan immigrants, and I grew up here on Maui in Kihei. I graduated with a BA in political science and a BA in journalism at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. After that, I worked as a legislative aide in the State House, and I interned for the State Senate as well. And now that I am home, I am ready to serve all of you. So the foundation of my platform falls on the unification of South and West Maui. I am a strong advocate for human rights, including reproductive rights, and also firearm handling as well. I also, sorry, what was that? Oh, okay. Thank you. I am also a strong supporter of improving our infrastructure, diversifying our economy, and strengthening and revitalizing our environment. So I'm also going to talk on the point of the certificate of need. So on a good day, it takes 45 minutes to get from here to Maui Memorial. On a bad day with all the traffic, it takes, an hour 45. Now, I say we should completely get rid of the certificate of need, and we should build a hospital right here in West Maui. We will open up more services for the people right here. Sorry, one moment, please. And by doing so, we will definitely be saving a lot of lives. And by doing, we'll also be, we'll also be, I'm sorry, I'm blanking, you guys. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, you guys. The support, love it. Anyways, okay, yes. We'll be saving lives by making sure that there are faster treatments available and more hospitals and services. More importantly, it will be affordable health care. The other thing that I will touch upon as well is the last question, which is what will you do to ensure that the state DOT makes necessary revisions to its West Maui highways improvement programs, extending the bypass north and away from the ocean? Now, before I answer this, I would like to say that just because we are moving this road away from the coastline does not mean coastal erosion and sea level rise do not exist. So while we are implementing this new route, this new plan, I will be working closely with the Department of Transportation, so the DOT, the DLNR, landowners, the Maui County, to make sure that we are developing plans, and I will developing appropriate plans for this new route. And I will also be making sure to speak out on behalf of the concerned community as well. So thank you very much, Wa'afetai Lava. Thank you so much, West Maui Taxpayers Association, for hosting us. We really appreciate it. And like it says in your handbook, no vote, no grumble, okay? Register to vote and be active. All right, have a great night, you guys.
Hello, am I next? Joe? Thank you. Thank you, West Maui Taxpayers, and thanks for all of you to take out time in your busy schedule. And I'm Ellie Cochran, former West Maui County Council. Took a couple-year break. Angus decided to go for another seat, so the seat opened up, and I said, oh man, Angus, okay, I'll step up and run again. But I'm really excited, and that's part of the reason to bring my county experience and my rapport and relationships on the county level to bring your voice to the state level. And I was voted 6-time most popular county official at the Maui Time magazine, Maui Time paper, and in my last council race, the top vote getter. So the track record says that people supported what I've done and what I stood for and have accomplished. So I invite all of you to get me back in the saddle here and back in the seat to be your voice, along with Unite Here Local 5, the Nurses Union, Local 50, Sierra Club, Hawaii Children's Action Network, HCAN, Pono Hawaii Initiative, 350 Hawaii, Our Revolution Hawaii, Hawaii State Teachers Association, and Maui Pono Network. The 9 endorsements, I am incredibly grateful and proud to have their support and confidence in me to do the job for them and represent. So also, I think the top thing that I'm extremely proud of is to have taken the Our Pledge Hawaii pledge, and that stands for, I'm not into the pay-to-play program and have not taken any super PAC type of funding, big lobbyist donations or any type of monies of that sort. So that I'm extremely happy to bring to government and the whole political arena. So that's a little bit about myself. Moving on, the question I wanted to address is the support to invest physicians and recruit facility development for increased access and availability. So there is I want to continue to support the connection pipeline with the John Burns School of Medicine that's already active, that just create, they get educated and just integrate into the needs into our community in the medical arena. So I want to make sure that that program continues. And looking at office space, utilize empty spaces, such as, and I've said this over and over, the old Travelodge building, if you folks don't know, off Papalawa Street across from First Hawaiian Bank, those units are ready for people to move in, right? Each room, it was Travelodge, it was a motel. People can be housed in each unit right now as we speak. And downstairs, you can incorporate mental health services, all the social service programs needed. I've been in contact with Salvation Army of Lahaina. They brought this idea to me, and I talked about it as a council. But I want to move forward. I've been talking about that with Rep. Mckelvey, and I want to say thank you to Rep. Mckelvey. We've been working hand in hand. He's getting me up to speed on things. I've been through the state legislature, and building rapport is really key. And this leads me into my next question about infrastructure. And building rapport and financing, you got to get the votes to move things forward. Mahalo.
Check, baby, one. Hello, everyone. My name is Karamo Balinbin, candidate for State House of Representatives, District 14. I'm not a politician. I'm someone in this community who cares very much about Lahaina, Maui County, and Hawaii Nei. I am born and raised here, Upper West Side, Kahana, Honokawai, Napili area. Married, 17 years, 4 children. Proud graduate of Lahaina High School. I coach youth football, youth wrestling. Part of some the canoe clubs where they need help when my kids are paddling. And I'm very active in West Maui Basketball League. I'm running for State House of Representatives because I care about our island. I care about West Maui. I want to keep West Maui funds in West Maui. We want to keep our money here to do the things that we need, the hospital, infrastructure, housing, all of that. And yes, I've worked with Angus Mckelvey on situation, and yes, we used to butt heads. He's a year younger than I am. I kind of do the bully role with him, but in the end, he would help me pass legislation this year on sandbags. A lot of the sandbags are breaking over in West Maui, in the Kahana area, and they're suffocating our reefs. It even almost drowned one of our kids down at S. Turns. So, we were able to pass legislation to label these bags so we can know where these bags came from and who's responsible for having these faulty bags. I'm running because, like the other girl, anger. Frustrated with the current with the role that the current or the past and current government is taking. Beach access. I asked the former council member, my opponent, years ago for help with beach access. Nothing. Bunch of valas. And luckily we were able to get a team going, and we got beach access back on the Upper West Side. And we're about to get more. Our team was pivotal in getting the planning department to be audited. We don't want to mess around here. We want to be pono with everything. With the con, to answer the questions on the con certificate of need, I have people who work in the ambulance and are nurses, and it's really detrimental to the healthcare providers. There's no there's like they want to keep it a monopoly. Kaiser, HMSA, they want to keep it a monopoly to where they handle everything. And that's not correct. They need to be, and like they said, that one person had to wait weeks to get an appointment done, and that shouldn't be done. That's not how we should be taking care of our people of Hawaii. And my next question to answer is about the bypass, West Maui bypass. Of course, I used to live in the same area that Sheila used to live in, and yes, going left over there, we don't want any kids to get run over or get hurt or anybody to get killed. We need that bypass done, and we need to get those funds. There's already funds regulated by federal funds regulated for bridges, for roads, and we want to have that MPO, the method of procedure, the MOP. If you have those ready, you can get the federal funds first. So if we get those done, thank you very much. My name is Kanambu Bilim, and please vote for me. Aloha.
How's it? My name is Leonard Nakua. That's my real name, but everybody call me Junior. I was born in Japan, raised 5 years in Ka'akoloa. The rest was over here in Lahaina. I feel real strongly about Lahaina's issues there. Thank you to West Maui Taxpayers Association, but in the state level, we, Lahaina, is either one or two of tax revenue, that generate the most taxes, yeah? But in West Maui, we get the short end of the stick. Our parks suck. The bypass, for some reason, they're going to stop them, but they're going to make the, Honolulu continue with that stupid rail. But us guys get stuck with nothing. But we generate the most taxes over here. Yeah, so why we not getting the money? So, unfortunately, the people who was in office just now never really push hard. This Hawaiian going to push hard. Okay, I push hard at the county level, putting for the council and the mayor, because I give them cracks. So you can imagine what I'm going to give them when I go to the state level. Okay, can you imagine what I'm going to give them when I stay at the state level? I never get the questions until just now, so I'm going to try wing them. Okay, because I'm running unopposed for this primary, so they told me I can come talk, so I'm going to talk. Okay, and then so I'm running as an Aloha Aina candidate because I don't like the division of Republican and Democrat. Okay, we got to bring ourselves together, especially our district. I'm going to worry about our district first. So if I can bring Lahaina, Kahakuloa, Waihe'e together, watch out the rest of the district, the other 51, better listen to this guy. Okay, because I'm going to bring everybody together. And that's the main thing. Our voices got to be heard in Honolulu. Okay, gang? Because we number 1 and 2 in the tax revenue. I'm going to keep on saying that. So our voice should be more strong up there. Okay? So we should get our bypass to continue. Yeah? And with that bypass thing not being continued, that I'm a strong guy for affordable housing. Okay? When the mayor was on the council, I bought him. When Ellie was on there, I bought her, And I still bought her in Gabe Johnson right now, wide. But the one that was just blessed this Tuesday here in Lahaina, okay, I kind of biased on that one because the thing was built, it's going to be built on Hawaiian ceded lands, okay? Us Hawaiians say dying on the list. So that bugger should be going to Hawaiians first. And to tell you the truth, it's not, okay? So the governor, the mayor, and whoever went say this is a good project, sorry, I'm against it, okay? I'm going to do my best to fix it. And I talking to the developer. I call up Brother Angus. Yeah, I bought him. I just bought a Ross Baker out there and give her scoldings. Yeah, the mayor, I talk story with him. Okay, me and him go talk story. He said, hey, we can talk story about this. Let's do this. Let's fix it. Okay? Hawaiians in ceded land should be preferred first. Okay? But I'm all, because they're building one across the street, right? For everybody else. So make this one, if you're going to do them on Hawaiian ceded land, give it to us. We've been on the land for too long, on the list for too long. Okay, gang? Up already. Okay? Yeah. Ato piga I toka na kain, but mahalo guys.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, state candidates, very much. We appreciate your aloha spirit and sticking with our time schedules and constraints. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming and participating. Now we're going to ask the mayoral candidates to come up. Thank you very much. Okay, our mayoral candidates. Isn't this? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So the state questions have been provided to you. You're aware of that. Now the way this is, we're going to change a little bit on the timekeeper. You've got 1 minute introduction, 1 minute the first question, 1 minute second question. You pick two of the questions that you want to talk about. But rather than give you the deadline for the 1 minute introduction and the deadline for the first question and the deadline for the second question, we're going to lump all it in. You got 3 minutes. So you can use it, the 3 minutes for the introduction, for the first question and the second question, and we won't give you the 10-second deadline until your 3 minutes is almost up, okay? So this way you can spend a little bit more time on one and the other, whatever, it's up to you. Is that okay? I'm sorry, I wish I could give you a half hour each because I really would love to hear that much from you, and I'm so sorry that we don't have that much time. There's so much wonderful people up here, and I appreciate your participation and willingness to participate in this constricted time frame with the Aloha Spirit. So without further ado, we're starting on the extreme right. Please stand up, give an introduction, and we'll just move down the line. Thank you.
Aloha, everybody. My name is Colin Bell. So the reason I decided to throw my name in the pot is my family, my beautiful wife, my 3 children, and all the kids in Maui County. So I've had my boots on the ground the past 3 years through the pandemic. I've been an advocate for the children. I've been an advocate for their parents and parental rights or the lack thereof. We're still fighting that same fight right now. I know nobody's really talked about it, but they're pushing vaccinations on children 6 months and older now. Imagine that, sticking an experimental shot in a baby. They're requiring it for high school sports, so kids are being discriminated against. If you do not have your shot or up-to-date booster, you will have to test twice a week. This is just insanity to me. Kids 18 and under have a statistical 100% chance of surviving. Why are we forcing them to do these things? Why are us as elected officials and leaders in the community not speaking up more? Speaking up and being an advocate for these kids? Because I tell you right now, in the next year or so, we're going to see a lot of bad things happening to these kids. A lot of kids will die. A lot of kids will have severe adverse reactions like myocarditis and pericarditis, which they'll never be able to grow out of. It won't go away. So I've had my oldest son out of public school since 2020. Come August, I will have 2 of my sons with me on the job site and going to homeschool, and we'll be paying for that out of pocket. We're failing our kids. We're supposed to be their protectors. They're our next generation. What are we setting them up for? To be servants, to do exactly as they're told and not question something when they know it's wrong? Is that what we're setting them up for? This point in time right now, we've never seen this type of thing happening. Ever. Not in my lifetime. And the reason I'm doing this, is so my kids won't have to do it. If we don't do it now, we'll put that burden on our children. So the 2 questions I'm going to be answering is a fire station. So fire station, I know we spoke with Joe Pluta, we had a lunch with him, sat down with him, and they already have a plan. $4 million, which I think is real low compared to $44 million for a center for the arts. I think that can be put on the back burner. I think a fire station in Oluwalu is a definite necessity that we need. If we have a bad traffic accident, before the poly, what's the time frame to get there? Oh, shucks. 10 seconds? Okay, so we need the fire station. The planning department, we need to clean out every department and ensure they're held accountable, there's transparency. We need to get that fire station built. Homelessness is another big issue. So we need to find out, we need to Go through the homeless community, find out what they are. So there's going to be either drug addicts, alcoholism, mental health issues. Yeah, we need to help them. We also need to help the people that fall on a stroke of bad luck, need a place to rest their head, get a shower, help getting a job. They need our help. We need facilities. We have a lot of money to throw at it. Let's put it there. Yeah, and also, I don't know if you guys know, but we're taking in homeless from all over the nation, right here in our home. Why is that burden placed on us as taxpayers? Why are we taking in other states homeless? We should find out where they're from, send them back, and ensure they don't come back. And ensure these states stop sending us their homeless, so we got to pay taxes for them. Thank you. My name is Colin Bell, colinbellformayor.com. I'm on Instagram, cbell for mayor, and Facebook. Thank you.
Aloha mai kako, velina mai pakahi apao, mahalo no kahele ana mai. My name is Richard Bisson. I want you to know two things. I come from a working class family. I spent the last 35 years serving and protecting this community. My wife and I have 3 adult daughters, and we have 3 grandsons. And the reason I'm running for mayor are those grandsons, Lalakea, Naluahi, and Kilinahi, my 3 grandsons, and your grandchildren as well. You know, when I was growing up on Maui, it never occurred to me that I would not be able to live here. Never occurred to me that I'd have to move away. I still don't think that about myself, but I think that about my kids and my grandkids. I don't know if any of you feel that way, or you feel that way about your family. Again, that's a phenomenon we're not used to, none of us. And again, that's my reason for running. I served 15 years as a Maui prosecutor. 8 of those years I was the county prosecutor. I served under 2 different mayors from 2 different political parties. I served as the first Deputy Attorney General for the state of Hawaii, the Director of Public Safety, and I've been a judge for the last 17 years. I retired in December. Graduated from Santa Clara University with a degree in political science and St. Anthony High School and University of Hawaii Law School. I'll address the first 2 questions. I didn't restate the question. Does the audience know what the questions are? Okay. So I talked about the Planning Commission and the Maui Planning, the West Maui County Planning Advisory Board. Now here's what I want to say. We should respect and appreciate the people from our county who volunteer their time to serve on our commissions, especially when they're participating in the very thing we want them to, which is to give their input on how this side of the island, West Maui, should be planned. Now sometimes that decision runs into conflict with the Maui County Plan, or the Maui Community Plan, I should say. So what we should do, though, is if we're going to ask people to volunteer and take part, we should honor that, right? Now, once in a while, and of course, the county council has the final say on that, but I think there should be an explanation to you folks, the taxpayers, why the will of the community was not followed. Now, I'm sure there's a very good reason, but that should be explained to people. And I think for us, if we're going to, again, ask people to be part of our community, that shouldn't just be a slogan. That should be something that we honor and, again, get results. Now, if there's a reason why the plans do not line up, then maybe we need to talk about that. Maybe as the mayor or the council, we need to find out why it doesn't align. What is it about it that doesn't align? But I think you have a right to know that. The second part about the fire station, I just want to agree with what Colin Bell has said. But it's not just because it's a distance. It's because it's necessary and it's needed. The West Maui Taxpayers Association did a great job 20 years ago in the Pili Fire Station and the ambulance, right? West Maui people know what you guys want. You guys know what you want. You tell us what you want. You guys have done a great job of that, and I think you'll do a great job again, and the county should support that. I'm Richard Bisson, BissonMovement.com. Mahalo.
Good evening. Aloha to all. My name is Michael Victorino, your mayor. I've been proud to serve this community for 45 years. Whether it's Little League, soccer, Knights of Columbus, you name it, PTA, I've done it all. And because it was the right thing to do. I've been honored to be your mayor through these most difficult times. And many decisions had to be made, and I wasn't afraid to make them, especially when it was the well-being and you, the people of Maui County, were the priority. For West Maui,
the bypass, the upper bypass, especially going south towards Kahului, is very important. The road is falling into these last big waves we had last weekend really demonstrated the critical need of that being done. And I'm also in favor of doing the other side. Thanks to Angus and other of our state legislator, along with Brian Schultz, Senator Brian Schultz, we've got $95 million lined up so we can start moving dirt by the late part of next year, 2023 or early 2024. I'm excited about that fact that we will take care of a big need for this community. It's not about the visitor, it's about you and the quality of life you deserve. When it comes into affordable housing, yes, we have built and we continue to build affordable rentals and affordable units. But like everything else, we've taken so long to get to this point, now we've got to pick up the pace. I have my 2 sons, my 5 grandchildren, and my 3 great-grandchildren, and they are my future. So I understand about things like climate change and other areas like that have affecting them, and they will not have much to come to or receive if we don't do what is needed today to make things better tomorrow. The fire station in Olowalu was something I talked about last campaign. Joe and I have had many conversations on that. Just like the certificate of need in a hospital, it is needed for this community. It's not only about accidents, automobile accidents, but getting to brush fires before they get out of control. Before a major accident happens on our beaches and no one's there to help that individual or that family. So that's very important. As far as the West Maui Community Plan, I've asked to go back to the Planning Commission for review and to get an explanation to you, the people of West Maui. You deserve that. Bruno Ariyoshi, Mei Fujiwara, and many others spent years working on that. 20 plus years, almost 30 years. And now we just change it. That's not fair. Without an explanation, really more not fair. Right, Peggy? That's not fair to you, the people of West Maui. So my name is Michael Victorino. I'm running for re-election. Please help me continue the path of success that we all surely need and keep working to make Maui County no ko'oi. Mahalo.
Hello and good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Molina, one of your 9 council members, and mahalo to the WMTA for having this forum tonight. You know, this is so much better than doing a Zoom forum. I like this, up close and personal. And let me tell you why I'm running for mayor. I bring to you experience and also a leadership style that's calm and steady and always believes in civic engagement. Now, I've had success with some of my legislation, 2 of which still is being in use today, the Affordable Housing Fund and also the first-time down payment program. But I tend to use the word I a lot, but I also have to stop and think it's truly we, as in we, the people. We all have to work together to solve our concerns. And that's what I bring to the table. I'm a strong believer in that. And prior to being a politician, I was a public school teacher for 2 years, right up at the Lahaina Intermediate School. And I see a similarity in being a classroom teacher and also being an elected official, because you're working with people. Everybody's got different opinions. And as a leader, you need to be a facilitator and not a dictator. Your job is to bring everyone together to address all of the problems. And that's what I believe in. And should I be elected mayor, the people I hire will share these same principles with me in terms of providing you the best possible government service and restoring your trust and confidence in government. Now, as far as my priorities, probably the same as many of my colleagues. They have to do with housing, diversifying our economy, and also public safety. Let's start with housing. We certainly need to address that because one of the things that I see we can do and expand on is developing public-private partnerships, using our county-owned properties and with a developer. In return for them building more units, the county can cost share. We'll take care of the infrastructure. That's one solution. And we can also rehabilitate existing structures as well. A good example of that was the old University of Hawaii dorms that you see in Kahului. That facility was restored, and now you have 12 families living in there. So I think we should continue down that path. Now, as far as the Olowalu Fire Station, I certainly support that, as the rest of the speakers have stated. And as mayor, I will do my part to expedite the permit process. That's so important because that's been a constant complaint as to a lot of permits sitting around. So I'll make sure to do a permitting process that is transparent as possible to make sure that West Maui gets a well-deserved fire station. And I believe that my time is nearing its conclusion. But please, if you'd like to know more about my priorities, please go check me out at votemikemolina.com. And no matter who you vote for, democracy is alive and well. And please keep it alive by going out there and voting. And this is wonderful to see so many candidates participating in many, many different offices. So God bless all of you, and thank you for listening. And please vote Mike Molina for mayor. Aloha.
Okay, is this on? All right, aloha. I'm Kelly Takaya King, and I'm running to be your next mayor after 3 terms on the Maui County Council. I've also served in the state on the State Board of Education, and I was a legislative liaison, so I've continued actually for 25 years in front of the state legislature lobbying for various bills and various programs and projects that we need here on Maui. With all due respect to my colleagues here, I think I've had enough experience to know the things that are wrong and that need to be changed and fixed, but not too much experience to be jaded at this point. There's something to be said for stopping when you're ready to change, and that's why I'm running for mayor. I've noticed a lot of the good policies and funding and projects that we've passed through the council, and it takes the administration to follow up on that. Sometimes that doesn't happen. So implementation and enforcement is very important as a follow-up, and the collaboration with the council is really important. I've been collaborating all my life. I've been a business person for a collective of 40 years, successfully with King Diesel and then with Pacific Biodiesel. And we've been in the renewable energy business, so I came into climate change and the environment that way. We've been for 25 plus years making clean renewable fuel out of your French fry oil, out of your grease trap oil, and solving the problems at the landfill at the same time. The other part of my life is being a mother and a grandmother, and I'm running to change Maui County and make it better for your children and your grandchildren and all of our future generations. To bring the youth into the mix of our next generation of leaders, we're starting a youth council, and that's happening through my office. So we're working with high school students across the county of Maui, even on Molokai and Lanai, and we're going to create a youth council where the youth can actually start deliberating on the important issues, seated as a council for a day, bring the legislation that they want to see pass, and then send it over to the county council, and we'll see if that gets passed. We'll see if we're listening to our youth. It's really important to bring the next generation into the fold. My priorities are, of course, affordable housing. I'm so proud to have brought the first truly affordable housing rentals to South Maui in decades. We have Kaiwahine Village opened in 2020 with 2-bedroom apartments starting at $511 a month. We're actually able to house some unsheltered folks there too. So that is continuing. We have another 5 projects on the book in South Maui. 3 of them are rentals, 2 of them are actual for sale homes. One of them is duplexes starting at $395,000. I think that's the cheapest affordable for sale homes on the island. That's going to be opening next year. My other priorities, of course, are social justice, and I completely support women's rights, LGBTQ plus rights, the rights of our children, even though they don't vote, and the rights of parents. And I support a sustainable agriculture. I think we need to have a vision for the future, with not just with regenerative agriculture. Am I done? Oh, okay. All right, thank you very much. Kelly King from Maui.com.
Testing. Okay, great. My name is Kim Brown, and I'm running for your mayor. My husband Byron and I, we live up country Makawao, and we are the owner of Akamai Coffee Company. It started 15 years ago, and our business has us all over the island. We buy from Chemo Faulkner here from the coffee farms. We work with cattle ranchers up country. And I got into this because as a business person, I felt like I could bring that business sense to the county. As a business person, you can't waste time and money. You're so limited, and you need to problem solve quickly. The county and government are professional time wasters and money wasters. And I love building teams. I love leading teams. I do contracts, I negotiate leases, I do budgets. If any of you have experienced Akamai Coffee, that is the product that you would get at the county level, is motivating your team to do well and serve the people. Government's responsibility is to serve the people well, and I bring servant leadership to the county level. Number one, they're to secure our rights as people. And as a mayor, I would stand in that position to make sure your rights were secured so that you can do what you need to for you, your family, your businesses, your kapuna. For housing, again, we're in a position where the county, they are reactive instead of proactive. For those of you who have lived here long enough, you know that affordable housing is not a new issue. This is an ongoing issue, and now we're in a crisis. And so the crisis requires immediate action, and that means getting rid of all of this regulation and red tape. I know our friends that have Hawaiian homelands, they said that in order to build on their land, it requires about $100,000 worth of infrastructure for each home. That's impossible. That doesn't meet their need of getting housing, and that needs to be solved, and that shouldn't be a regulation. And opening up access to even mixed use, commercial and residential, that works great for communities, because not only do you have people not having to commute as much, but it also keeps that area of the community fresh and active. I am in agreement with the fire department. Being in Olowalu, it just makes sense. What doesn't make sense is our $1.072 billion budget. That doesn't address any of our needs, our immediate needs. We're in a crisis for food, shelter, and water. The West Maui wastewater injection wells, that is a problem that has existed for so long, that's continuing to kill the reef and is causing bacteria in the water. We just need to redirect it and repair it, and redirect that water so we can use that as ag water, and then you get your 10 million gallons a day of natural water for your personal use. My name is Kim Brown. You can go to kimbrownformayor.com and on Instagram as well. So thank you guys.
Thank you very much. Candidates for adhering to a very restrictive time frame, but did a great job. Thank you very much for your aloha spirit and complying with this. I know that we all want to talk to them more. I hope that they'll be around outside where people can ask them specific questions about different things that they've talked about or not talked about. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much. And our next candidates will be for the council. If they'll be lined up, the council candidates, please come up to the podium. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh my goodness. 14 seats. Okay, we're going to do this in 2 sections then. We're going to start ladies first, okay? Guys, I know that you'll go along with this. Ladies first, all right? Council candidates, you were provided with all our questions. If I can have your attention, county council candidates, you were provided with all the questions. Does anybody need me to read any more of them? Do you understand what the questions are? Okay. And now, the way this is going to work, we're going to do the same thing as we did with the mayoral race. You got a total of 3 minutes, each of you, okay? So it was before, it's 1 minute for introduction, 1 minute for one question, 1 minute for the second question. So that's a total of 3 minutes. Instead of cutting you off after your 1 minute introduction and cutting you off after your first question and so forth, you got 3 minutes. You use it any way you want, okay? In the way you want to use it, okay? You understand that? And she'll give you 10 seconds when you're 10 seconds left in your 3 minutes. All right? Has everybody got a seat and a microphone? We got one more? Okay, thank you. Please stand up, introduce yourself, and get the ball rolling. Thank you.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Robin Knox. I'm running for Maui County Council. I'm running for County Council because I care about your quality of life. I'm a mother, a Kihei resident for 16 years, and a grandmother, and a small business owner. I'm a Kihei resident, a mom, a grandmother, and a small business owner. I'm an environmental scientist, and I have 40 years experience as a professional problem solver in the water resources field. I promise as your county council member, I will put local priorities first. Local priorities like secure housing for everyone of all income levels. Not just 80 to 140% AMI, but the lower income levels as well. Local priorities like water security, having control of our local water supply so that we have plenty of water supply for drinking water and for growing our own food and other uses. We can recycle wastewater, we can capture stormwater, and we can be conservative with our streams and groundwater usage. Local priorities like food security. We import more than 90% of our food. I would like to build a diverse local economy that keeps profits in Maui County, and we can do that but in part by growing our own food, fuel, and fiber. And we need regenerative, sustainable agriculture to be able to do that. So those are some of my priorities of my platform. With regard to the questions, the houseless, homeless situation is very close to my heart. I work with families all the time that are in that situation. I think we need to act as if we've just had a natural disaster and 1,000 people were left homeless. What would we do? We would do anything and everything that we had to. We can have temporary encampments that are managed. We can have secure parking for people that live in their cars to sleep overnight. We can use RVs or trailers as temporary housing. Any of these things, and also repurposing all of the empty buildings that we see all around Maui. Any of these things that we could do are better than what we're doing now. What we're doing now is not working, and so when something's not working, I try to look for trying something different if what we're doing is not working. So with regard to the fire station, we could certainly benefit from the fire station. That area is so dangerous and will become more dangerous as the planet warms and we have more drought. So I'll work to help with that too. Thank you very much. My name's Robin Knox. I'm running for Maui County Council.
Aloha everyone. My name is Yuki Lei Sugimura. I am your sitting council member. This is my 3rd term and I'm running for my 4th. I will tell you that I'm born and raised on Maui. I have seen this community change from when I was growing up, and my father was a physician for the Wailuku Sugar Mill. Agriculture put food on my plate, and I have the greatest respect for agriculture and what the whole industry was in general. I am a mother. I have been married for 35 years. I am a long-termer with a lot of things that I do. I decided to do this a lifetime ago because this has been my long journey to be an elected official. I have, this is my way of then helping more people solving problems. I am the chair of the Infrastructure Transportation Committee. And so what I do, everyone talks about we want affordable housing. My committee is working on the Waiale Road extension to help build the homes in where Maui Tropical Plantation is. So we're getting the infrastructure ready for that, as well as we are decentralizing the tsunami zone Kahului wastewater treatment plant, and we're bringing it inland, and that project should be completed about 2027. But those are the kind of big projects that I work on, and you know what I do? I help with affordable housing in a way that you probably will not see till our infrastructure gets built. I strongly believe in that. I believe also in the value of water because I am upcountry, and we are looking for more wells, or we found actually more water upcountry to help with the upcountry water meter problem, as well as for the housing concerns that are upcountry. So I walk the talk. When I first got elected, I put in almost $1 million into the budget to help the water department help with this backlog water meter list that we all kept on hearing about, so we can have administrative help for the department so that they could go through the list. It is a long process. It is really not processing paper. It's about finding resource and infrastructure. And one day when you all want to have more time, I can talk to you about the East Maui, or the new water authority that the council just voted to put it on the ballot in November. And I will tell you that I voted against it because I want you all to know that who has ultimate say of your water, whether it's this side of the island or upcountry where I'm from, is the State Department of Land and Natural Resources, CWRM. It's not going to be a random community group that is, I think that's what it's trying to start. I can go on and on about that. Who should really be doing this is the Department of Water Supply. That is an agency that can borrow money, that has staff, that has engineers, and that's who should have authority over your water, and especially my water up country, because that'll definitely stop water if it's not done well to my residents. Thank you. My name is Yukile Sugimura, and I'm running for my 4th term, and I would appreciate your help. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Nohe Uuhajins. I'm running for county council for the Paia Makawao Haiku seat. I'm born and raised in Paia, and together with my husband, we live in Makawao now, and we have 4 children together. My main issues, I guess, would be to keep our children here, to keep all of us here. I'm an 8th-generation resident on one side and 6th-generation resident on the other. And as one of our candidates said earlier, I don't know if my grandma ever had to wonder if she was going to continue to live here. And I feel like I don't know if my kids will be able to continue to live here, and that's not acceptable to me as a local resident, as a Hawaiian. So that is my main goal. I also want to say we need to figure out a balance between smart growth, respect for our culture, and respecting our environment. It doesn't have to be one or the other. We really do need to figure this out so we can move forward in a very smart direction. I don't think politicians should be experts on everything, and if somebody tells you they are, you should be concerned. I think politicians and politics, they should provide a neutral space so that all experts can come to the table and we can make decisions on policy with expertise and move forward. So our questions I guess I'll answer 2. The Oluwalu Fire Station. I guess today is a super important day because all the politicians up here seem to agree on one thing. And I guess it's that fire station, which is fantastic. My husband is a fireman, he's sitting back there, so we totally agree. I know the fire department has been wanting this for a long time, and thank you guys so much for making that happen. I think it's important to note that, at least in our question, they're talking about a substation, so it is a smaller fire station, but still very important in remote areas. On the east end of Molokai in Mana'e, they also have a substation, and I think it works really well. I think that'd be a great thing for someplace like Oluwalu, where they have lots of ocean rescues, and as we all know, seconds matter when someone's drowning. Regarding homelessness, that is a very sad and complex issue. There are 4 different types of homelessness, right? We have transitional, episodic, chronic, and even hidden homeless. For both criteria 1 and 2, where we have transitional and episodic homeless, I think our county government should be supporting our nonprofits who do a pretty good job at maintaining that, and they need more support. They need a central location so that they can take a shower, sleep, go to work, have respect. Regarding our chronic and hidden homeless, we need to have mental health and drug counseling for our chronic. Thank you so much, I gotta go. My name is Nohe.
Aloha no. Mahalo to the West Maui Taxpayers Association for having us here tonight. My name is Carol Lee Kamikona. I'm running for Kahalui's seat of the Maui County Council. As a cultural practitioner and advocate for the protection of our iwi kupuna, our aina, and our vai, I am not just talking the talk. I am in the trenches fighting for the right to eat, the right to shelter, and the right to live in my homeland. For you, Maui, and for our residents. Walk with me. Let us change the narrative. With your vote and with your support, we can be that change. With regards to the fire station, yes, I wholeheartedly support a fire station between Papalaua and Olowalu. With HDOT and the realignment project of the Honoapi'ilani Highway that's costing $90 million, their access to the grant, the RAISE grant, also with the CWSFRF. Between those two, we can accomplish bringing that fire station here. It is much needed. Honoapi'ilani is the lifeline and the blood and the only way that connects Central and West Maui. So I support that 100%. With regards to the houseless community, I walked the walk. I was at Amala Place last September when the sweep was done. A hui of Manavahini were there the whole entire week looking for storage for their supplies, looking for shelter, buying them food out of our own pockets because wraparound services were not available to them. My solution is a managed encampment, a pu'uhonua, a sacred place of refuge, just like the one in Waianae with Auntie Twinkle, just like the one in Kalailoa that was done for the veterans. Doesn't need to be a wall-to-wall, four-wall structure. Many of them don't have anything but their clothes on their backs. All they need is something to protect themselves, dry themselves. Why can't we just buy them a tent for now? Why can't we just do Conestoga huts and yurts and tiny homes? Why can't we utilize the shelters that are at Kahaleakeola that the county is not funding anymore? Where is that going? Let's use that for transitional housing. There's a lot of solutions that can be done, but let's just start with a managed encampment. I am 100% in full support for that. My name is Carol Lee Kamikona. I'm running for Maui County Council's Kahalui seat. Mahalo.
Well, darn, it's kind of hard to follow that. Aloha, everyone. My name is Nara Boone. I am running for the Makawao Haiku Paia seat of the Maui County Council. I grew up in haiku. I am a singer. I'm a voice teacher. I want to thank you all for having us here this evening. It's a little bit nostalgic for me to come into Lahaina today because it is the birthday, the anniversary of what was the show Ulalena that I was a part of. If you ever heard, "Oh, where are you, Ulalena rain?" That was me. But that was when Lahaina was thriving. You know, we had the Maui Theater. There was Maui Brews, there was Longies, there was the House of Saimin where the auntie pretended that she couldn't hear you until she decided she liked you. Does anybody remember her? And now when I drive into Lahaina, it's such a different thing. The thing about Ulalena was we educated people. In the 10 years that I was there, tourists came to this place and they got a sense of the history. We didn't just entertain. Right now with tourism, it's take, take, take. And I think the drain needs to be plugged. We can go to educating, we can shift in different ways, have our tourists work in the taro patches, work in the fish ponds, do other things that actually contribute to our home here, and also work and help build our own food security in the process. As regards to the questions that we were given, one of them, I'm on the wrong page. Sorry, that's a singer thing. So in regards to shifting the area of land that was formerly ag, that you want to switch back into ag for the Kaanapali 2020 plan, I took a look at it. It's kind of amazing. It's really big, but it's amazing. And I'm really curious to know, and I need to do more research as to what the opposition was that was so strong that it got it shifted out of that. That's what I'm curious to know about. I agree that a fire station is necessary in Oluwalu. I have a brother that's a firefighter. I have another brother that's a park ranger that fights fires. He goes to Northern California and helps with those. It's something that's desperately needed here. My worry is that that infrastructure would be laid, and then that opens the door for development of yet another area of our islands. I'm a strong supporter of open spaces and greenways. Before all we have is cement here. Thank you. Do I have time for one more? I have 6 seconds. My name is Nara Boone. I'm running for Maui County Council. I hope you vote for me. Aloha.
Hello? Awesome. Aloha. I'm Kara Flores. I'm running for the Kahului seat of the Maui County Council. The reason I'm running is because our housing crisis has gotten so severe that I know too many people personally who are suffering from it. I have 3 children, me and my husband do, and in the last 3 years we've had 6 of their teachers move off island because they can't afford to stay here anymore. And I'm watching as the fabric of our society slowly unravels because we're losing our workforce. And that really concerns me. I have 15 years of experience in housing, a depth of knowledge in housing, and I see that the county has put a lot of money into trying to get a plan to solve our housing crisis, but we are not implementing that plan fast enough. And so we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but we do need real solutions. We need them immediately. We cannot wait. And I think our housing crisis ties very closely into our homeless and houseless crisis, because now I know personally, and maybe you guys do too, people who are working full-time, who are not addicted to drugs or have any other mental health issues, who are houseless or housing insecure. And so it's getting to the point where it's affecting all of us. The other reason I'm running is we have a climate crisis, and I have 3 children, and I'm really worried about that. So my background is this past year I've been a substitute teacher for the DOE part-time because we had a teacher shortage, and I wanted to help with that. I've been doing housing for the last 15 years, and I've also been a volunteer and a community advocate for a lot of groups that help with youth and mothers specifically. I also have a degree in engineering. I got my degree in engineering. My husband and I met in engineering school. And so I just see that there's a lot of complex problems that we're facing moving into the future, and they require complex solutions and smart people who are competent to pull together common sense and all sides of the aisle and come together with solutions that we can afford that will work for our county. I'm a grassroots candidate. I'm not being supported by any special interest. I'm not accepting any donations from corporations. All of my money has been raised by individual donors and hardworking people like you guys. And if you want to find out more, you can check out my website, karaflores.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies. God bless you. Please make room now. We're going to have the gentleman for the county council races. Please come up to the center stage here. And thank you very much for coming and for abiding by our strictest time schedule and constraints and doing so well. And we'll just go right down the line. So since you chose that seat, you chose the hot seat, you get to start first. Please stand up with your introduction. As just I said, you got 3 total minutes to do the introduction and 2 questions, please. Thank you very much.
Aloha mai kako. 안녕하세요 여러분. konbanwa minasan and ni hao ma pangyoren. My name is Aram Armstrong. I grew up in Kulakai, which, if you don't know, that's Kihei. I came back to Maui just luckily before COVID, and I've been here for the last 3 years, working as a farm manager, as a media producer. My background is in interaction design. I design services for people. I've worked for the U.S. government, designed software for analysts. I've worked for the Singaporean government. I bring a skill set of the facilitator. I've also been a volunteer mediator. And I like to volunteer as a biocultural ahupua surveillance guy with my drone for Maui wetlands. And so I'm running for county council because I love Maui. I grew up here, and I love challenging problems. We have a lot of potential here on Maui. We can go in different ways. There's a lot of undeveloped land. There's a lot of limes in the Central Valley. We're all worried about food security. We're all worried about water, the integrity of our water system. What I can offer and what I bring as my special skill set is a way of looking at problem solving, visualizing problems, creating a space where we can all look at the challenges together and add transparency. I think we need to bring more people into the process, make it more less volunteer driven. Mahalo for the West Maui folks for having this amazing plan. We need to understand why it didn't come into fruition. I think part of it is understanding what's the whole process along the way. For how do we make that faster? How do we spend less time debating things that we're all agreeing to, like Oluwalu needing a fire substation? And that seems like an easy thumbs up for us. We can spend more time getting into the details around the more complex issues, like what do we do with the deer? Deer are a lot of, that's a protein resource. I'm not too worried about the statistic that we're importing 90% of our food, because we're hunting 1% of our food. We can hunt a lot more, but we need to create a process for managing that resource and getting people access to that resource. There's also reforestation. One of the biggest issues historically were the loss of our sandalwood forests. I'm super stoked this Saturday to go up to Awahi Forest Reserve and help with their efforts. I think we should all be putting food in the ground, helping plant coconuts. I've got some coconut-inspired bumper stickers, as well as lime-inspired bumper stickers, if you'd like to get on Team Coconut or Team Lime. What else? The houseless issue. So I've actually experienced a brief period of houselessness myself. I understand what it's like to be living in your car. A lot of it is mental health issues. A lot of it is just a desperate situation. We can have better solutions. I love Carol Lee's proposal. Mahalo. ArmstrongforMaui.net. Aram Armstrong. Aloha mai kako, and mahalo, everybody.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Hello, my name's Dennis O'Shea, and I'm running for Maui County Council South. First, I want to let you know I am not a politician. I am a retired fire captain and a retired veteran of the United States Navy, and currently a business owner living in Kihei. I think we can all agree that Maui County is a great place to call home, but we do have our issues. Those issues span from affordable housing to mismanagement of our water supply, to a broken Department of Education, and although we have some good people serving in the government, it is extremely dysfunctional. My number one concern right now, though, is for our constitutional rights and our medical freedoms as sovereign beings. What we've experienced over the last couple of years is our local government did not adhere to our constitutional rights or our medical freedoms. They were actually violated with these unlawful mandates and forced medical interventions. However you want to look at it, if these rights, our constitutional rights and medical interventions, are not respected and followed, all of our other issues will soon not matter, and that's a fact. What we need to do going forward is we need to put members in our community in these positions that are tried and true, proven leaders that want to truly serve the community and not trying to rule over us. And that's where I stand on that. The first issue I want to talk about is the Kaanapali Plan and the West Maui Plan. In particular, the West Maui Hospital. This is an extremely important structure that needs to go in. I did see some photos of some groundbreaking of that project and reached out and contacted one of the individuals in that photo. And they told me that it was a financial issue that it didn't go forward. They also told me that there were some backdoor deals going on between the existing hospitals and private ambulance companies and politicians that had shareholders as their priority versus the people of West Maui, which that stuff needs to stop. Moving forward, what I would like to do is I would like to take a serious look at the planning division and fix this process that we have for permits. It's out of control, it takes way too long. There's obviously an issue at that level. We need to find people in the community that can work together to make positive changes, and people that can maybe work outside the box with some unorthodox means and get these things done, because we have to put the priority of the people's well-being and not that of private corporations or entities, because that seems to be what's going on in our government today. They're not taking your well-being as the West Maui citizens, where all this tax money is coming from. It's amazing that we don't have a hospital here. Secondly is the Oluwalu Fire Station. This is a passion of mine due to my 30 years of service in the fire department. I'll try and get this, man, really? All right, 1 minute. I have so much to say, and these are such important issues. Anyhow, my name is Dennis O'Shea. I'm running for Maui County Council South. I humbly ask for your support at bringing the government back to the people. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yep. No, it's on.
This one works. Aloha, everybody. And I want to thank you for the invitation. This is a really good event. My name is Tom Cook. I'm running for the South Maui County Council seat. This is my second time. And I've been a resident. I'm a transplant. I've only been here 50 years. I still am grateful to be accepted into the community. I married a girl from upcountry. I have 5 kids, 4 grandchildren. I'm a carpenter, a contractor. I'm a builder. I think I'll be the first council member to actually have built homes, and did the solar carport at MCC. Anyway, I won't bore you, I could, but with all the different things that I've built. I'm not a developer, I'm a builder. You'll hear me say us and we a lot, and the reason is because being either on a construction crew or managing a construction crew, it's all about what we are doing. It's an effort that is takes a lot of different hands and a lot of different talent. I think that I can bring that to the county council and work collaboratively with other members who have other skill sets, have other backgrounds and histories. I'm doing this because I believe that the planning and permitting system is dysfunctional. I have a lot of empathy for the people who are doing the reviews. I have empathy for the people who are doing the submittals. And I believe that I can bring to the county council the experience and the empathy to basically identify the ordinances that are conflicting and identify the ways that we can work together. This one thing is like the fire department will accept 250 GPM, gallons per minute, if you have sprinklers. The water department is demanding 500 GPM, gallons per minute, to get a permit. But the fire department's the one putting it out. And it's that type of disconnect that I think that the legislative branch, we have the opportunity to modify, adjust, sunset, and create ordinances that actually work for us. As far as affordable homes, the elephant in the room is real estate speculation, okay? People aren't talking about, the cost of building a home is the dwelling. The infrastructure and the land is something that the government, that we can bond over a period of time and can supply. But as long as we are basically have a big for sale sign on the island,
then we're not going to catch up. So we need to address speculative real estate and support construction workers who build the stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, down there. Aloha, I'm Dave DeLeon from Haiku. I'm running for the Maui County Council, Haiku Makawao Paia. I came to Hawaii via the Vietnam War, came to go to UH, and I went to UH and ended up with an MA in political science out of UH. Been working and living in the state for 53 years. My wife and I feel very blessed to be here, and I'm sure many of you guys felt that way, especially in the last 2 years compared to what was going on the mainland. But the trick is, now we're at this point, how do we keep Maui no ko'oi? I'm running because I have 43 years of experience in Maui County government. I was executive assistant to Mayor Lingle. I was chief of staff to Mayor Arakawa. I was the Maui News reporter for 10 years covering the Maui News, and I had the West Maui beat, so I really got to know West Maui really well for a while and wrote a lot of stories about West Maui. If you ever want to know about the airport, I can tell you all about it. And I was on 2 charter commissions as well. So I have a lot of experience, and I feel like because I have a lot of experience, I have a kuleana to give back to the community and apply that to our major issue, which is affordable housing. I just ran across a statistic that took my breath away. In the last 20 months, the median price of a house has gone up 45% in this county. 45%. And you know, so that's why we're at 1.2 million for a median priced house here. Local families can't afford that, so we're going to have to do something really radically different. My story is kind of following the same theme I'm hearing from all these events and from most of the candidates. We're all worried about our kids. Are they going to be able to stay here? I have 3 grandchildren. I want them to have a fighting chance. I want their whole generation to have a fighting chance of having a good life here. On the topics that Joe raised, of course, the Olawala Fire Station should follow the prototype from Napili and work perfectly. Let's do it again. And then there's no better place for it than Olawala. There's the traffic hazards out there. There's the wildfires. I see that the station should be ready to fight wildfires really fast because they come right there. Just hope we don't burn down the fire station. And we got the ocean safety also to worry about. And you know, so and we're close to the poly, so it's a great place to do it. I totally support it. On kind of Poly 2020, I kind of agree with the tone that Joe put. I was shocked, and I felt a little bit disrespectful for the council to knock it out. Is that I'm done? No, 10 seconds. Okay. Anyway, I had a long conversation with the developers representative, and I can tell you why it didn't get built. I'm Dave DeLeon, and I'm running for county council, Makawao Haiku Paia. Mahalo.
Aloha. Well, when you go closer to almost last, you are really grateful for all of you who stayed. You know what I mean? It's really helpful that people are still here and want to hear what you have to say, even though you don't know what hasn't been said yet. My name is Buddy Nobriga, born and raised on Maui. I'm a father of 4. I have a wonderful wife. I grew up in a family business that's well over 130 years old. We do distribution and manufacturing. I also grew up on a cattle ranch. Hard work is what I call play. I'm running because I am from a long line of quiet leaders that gave themselves selflessly, my grandparents. On both sides of my family, I have strong grandparents that helped raise me that really showed what giving back is about. In today's world, this is where I feel I can be the most impactful. Me and my family moved back home in 2014, and in working my way up in the family business again, I realized that getting involved isn't just something you offer, it's a necessity. And I found a real passion in serving our community. I have a very diverse background with the businesses, the agriculture, and my mom's side is from Kahakulua to Keanai from taro patches. to catering, to Kalua Pig. So I'm running because there's a legacy of giving back that I want to fulfill to the kupuna that came before me. And I really appreciate you all staying. I really do mean that, because I don't know what hasn't been said about the issues, but I'm going to give it my best shot. As far as the fire station, one of the things we should ask ourselves is, if everybody can agree, why isn't it done yet? $4 million out of a $1 billion budget seems like a small price to pay. I don't have that issue, but I thought about what I'd say about it. A few years ago, I worked at a program that took us to the fire chief to talk about the issues. More fire stations in our county will put us at 100, we get to 408 firefighters. We're considered urban. That gets federal funding here. It helps create jobs, create first responders, and help balance our budget. Win, win, win. That's good business. Another thing that I worked with is AMR, and they expressed to us how at any given time there's only 5 to 7 ambulance operating on island, and their station is in Ma'alaya. So if there is an emergency coming out of the west side, the Ma'alaya ambulance has to come cover because it's such a long distance. Again, we need healthcare for this side of the island. Part of my platform is, wow, that's the fastest 3 minutes ever. Part of my platform is housing, wellness, sustainability, and small business. I think that's the root of our community. I think that's where I come from. Mahalo. My name is Buddy Nabriga, running for County Council, Kahului seat. Aloha, everybody.
Aloha. My name is Jason Schwartz. When you look at the ballot, if you see Schwartz anywhere, you check the box there. I run for county council. 1992, 94, 96, I was a Green Party candidate for council and mayor. And I've been doing TV shows and interviewing candidates every 2 years since, so you could see up close. To do that, you have to be very versatile on lots of issues and be able to be neutral and not be partial, and I've been very much that. But if you listen to me, you will see I was renewable energy, solar energy, self-sustainability for 3 decades. 2 weeks ago in the Maui, in the Lahaina news, there was an article upholding the vision that I wrote in 1993 that is still applicable now, 30 years later. I've been talking the right things for a long time, and it's time to talking and doing. A lot of people told me they wanted me to run again, so I thought it was the responsible thing to do. If you look at dreammaui.com, it's been my website for 30 years, and there are many things that we could do now that aren't too late, and I will show you lots of innovations that we didn't talk about here today to solve problems. As far as the fire station, I think it's a no-brainer already by this time of the night. And homelessness, we've heard lots of great ideas. There are lots of solutions that I can talk about. Take a few minutes and go to the websites and check out not only me, but a lot of these candidates. May the Schwartz be with you, and may you be with the Schwartz. Aloha.
By our time constraints and participating, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thanks, boss. Thank you very much. Thank you, David. We both came here at the same time. Did this? We sounded like the same bio. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you are awesome. The West Maui community has been my home for 43 years. I love West Maui. I love you. You make it work. You make it great. We're doing the impossible. Remember, no organization, no community has done more than the West Maui community has done anywhere in the entire state of Hawaii. That's how powerful we are. That's how wonderful we are and what we can do moving forward. But let's all agree to look at all the things that we agree upon. Okay? Let's focus on positive things. What do we agree upon? Stop divisiveness. And remember, aloha means always, love over hate, always. Thank you very much. God bless you, and good night.